Hello, YouTube, telling me I'm live. If you can hear me, say hello. Hello, Kim. Kim got in first. Jonathan, where are you? Hello, Debbie. Sunny Southern California. It's freezing here. I'm with Charles. Not quite -10. We're -5. It's a bit cool. Hello, Renee. Hello, Tony.
I've got my gloves out for tomorrow.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Walking the dog.
Oh, right. Just normal things then. Not like venturing into the freezer or something.
Oh, I've done that.
Good grief, Jonathan.
Week.
Look where you are in the pecking order, young man. Must have been having a nap. Who else have we got? If I miss anybody, you can spank me. There you go. Best offer of the evening. Right, who else we got? Renee. We've got Graham. Hello, Graham. We've got Sarah. Hello, Deb. I think we have a full complement of Debs, which is always good news. Oh dear. Excellent. You can all hear me. Hello, Peter. Marvellous. I do like it when
Kim's expecting a foot of snow. I don't know if you saw a thing on the BBC. There was a BBC weather forecaster who said if he gets 30 centimetres of snow, he would dive into it with just shorts on.
Oh.
And he did, and his wife filmed it.
Never make rash promises like that.
Like Gary Lineker.
Like Gary Lineker, who said he would present Match of the Day in just his pants. And had to do just that. Not a sight to be repeated, I'll tell you. Anyway, it's been a bit of a day. If you were with us on Marooned, you will have some idea of the horrors of my day. Let's see if we can make it a good end to the day, because it wasn't a good beginning. It was not good. Anyway, let's get on and make sure that you can see everything you need to see, which is always a good start and never seems to happen. Right, I'm there, you're there. Hopefully, when I do this, everything will change and you will see what we've got planned. Excellent. Right, we have the week at MacBites headquarters been a bit of a week. A bit of a busy week. We've then got DEVONthink To Go 3, not deep diving it, just the fact it's out, how to get it, what the pitfalls are. Yeah, fell in every one of those. Nearly got charged £40 for the privilege. I will explain how to do that. Then we've got the Affinity Designer 1.9 update and all of the associated features with that. Mike is looking at SUMPRODUCT. That's SUM, not some product, as in some random product. But it could be. Our plan, mind you, this was our plan last week. Last week we ran out of time. This week, Notion's not behaving itself. But fear not. If Notion is up to it, because I'm up to it, but I'm not at all sure about Notion. If Notion is up to it, we'll do the learning management system, part 1. If Notion carps, I have a plan B, which is something in Affinity Publisher. So we're covered. We have a plan A, we have a plan B. Notion's been poorly all day. I will explain all about that. It's one of those fiascos, you know, like every other day. Right, we are broadcasting in HD. Make sure you are watching in HD. There is a cog in the lower right-hand corner. What's it set you to this week, Mike?
What it should be set to.
Lovely. I think it happens when you update your browser, you know.
HD 1080p 60. Yeah, don't talk to me about browsers.
Did it upset you?
Yeah, I had a problem today. Well, no, I had a problem the other day when I was delivering nucleus training and half the functionality was not working. And I went on the workplace group and asked people if they knew what the problem was. And it turned out to be my browser with some rogue extension. So I thought, right, I'll disable the extensions, and then I disabled syncing of extensions, and I came to this machine, and all my extensions have been disabled, even though I told it not to sync, even though I told it not to synchronise the breaking of the extensions.
Remind me why we work in tech again. No, I can't.
Silence. I don't know.
Remember either. Days like today, I seriously wonder. While you're down there, fiddling with that cog, there's a like button down there, and we would love it if you liked it. That would be great. So, what happened this week? Well, it all started on Saturday. This actually started Saturday night, didn't it? And we backtracked a little bit because it was the start of a 4-day
Charles
online
likes my
marathon.
rogue browser extensions comments.
I got told one of mine had what was the word it used? It was a terrifying word. For I've disabled this. I'm not letting you use it. It's got malicious code in it.
Oh.
Malicious, mine was. Yeah, it's been a bit of a week, like I said. So what we decided was, right, what happened on Saturday night was, one of our friends from By Request, she's a dance teacher, isn't she?
She is.
I think it's dance. And she had to do an online class. And she'd been doing online classes for 5 hours on Saturday. And had had enough. Forever. That was it. She said, don't know how you guys do it. So we said, oh, we got a bit of a busy weekend coming up, as you mentioned it. So we decided we would calculate it. So we were considering this a 4-day online marathon. So behind the scenes at MacBites headquarters, what does an average week look like here? Well, it was Excel weekend. There was a whole conference thing going on. So that went on all day Saturday. That added 9 hours of online work. Then we were doing music at the same time, but that was all pre-recorded. So that was going out and we didn't count that. Even though I have to create the stuff, we didn't count that in it. Should have done really, shouldn't we? But no, I was very fair. I didn't. At the same time as all that was going on, a pre-record of Mike. Mike was doing the Munich Memorial event. It was actually on the day this year. It's the 6th of February, 1958. There was an air crash and 23 people died, including 8 Manchester United players. So normally it's live. So we're down there live. I'm doing videoing and basically floor managing the whole thing, making sure everybody's where they should be, when they should be. Trust me, it's like herding cats, isn't it, Mike?
It is.
It's the most thankless job, the floor manager. But I have succeeded, even when somebody was stuck on the M60, didn't I? We had a singer stuck on the M60 and we were like 2 minutes away from showtime. And I said, well, I'm going to have to redo the running order. And he turned up about 20 minutes into it and I managed to even sort that mess out. So it's a thankless task, but I didn't have anything to do like that this year. All this year's stuff was the organising of the brochure and stuff. But Mike had been down to Old Trafford and done a pre-record, and so had some of the other people that read poems and the guy that sings. By the time it was all sorted, so it went out live on MUTV, Munich 58, all the usual places, we got some stats in. Oh, Mike's a superstar. If only we could translate that into YouTube views. 150,000. Wow. Mike reckoned about 40,000, but no, it was over 150,000 views. So well done, Mike.
Thank you.
Superstar. Then we went into Marooned, and then as ever on a Saturday night, 8 o'clock comes and it's chaotic. This time I think we had a really good theme. It was fairgrounds and the circus. Now, I thought might struggle with this. No, not at all. Still had way more songs than time. So we had a fabulous time. That took us to 1 o'clock on Sunday morning, where we managed to get some sleep at that point. But it was day 2 of Excel weekend. I have no idea, seriously, no idea, how we managed to get the next bit fitted in. But we did have about an hour 25 for lunch. And you know, would you sit and relax and eat your lunch? Oh, would that ever happens here? Oh, no. It was Madam's bath time. She was less than impressed. Look at her little face. She was sopping wet. I think actually we didn't wet her nose, did we? But she's always, as a Sammy, she's very bedraggled once she gets that wet. So we were wetter than she was, obviously. And when she got out of the bath, she basically dried herself while Mike groped erroneously for a towel. She decided she'd just shake all over. So yes, we were actually much wetter than she was. She will eventually forgive us, but it might be a while. Just look at those eyes. We still managed 9 hours of Excel, in addition to bath time for the princess. Once that was over, it was my book club. That overran. That was another 3 hours spent online working. At that point, we decided to get some sleep. Monday was day 3 of the Excel weekend. Yes, I know you're thinking weekend. Yes, but there was 2 extra days if you wanted to do them. That was Monday and Tuesday. Yeah, that started at 9 in the morning and finished at 10 in the evening. So that added another 13 hours onto it. Then we got to Tuesday and it was basically rinse and repeat. Final day of the Excel thing, which was very good. I sat here with Mike through it and it was very good, which was another 13 hours. So, drum roll please. There we go. Our total from 7 o'clock on Friday night to 10 o'clock on Tuesday was 62 hours. So I'm going to show Kaz that this week.
Yeah.
Kaz said 5 hours and she was totally exhausted. Nobody could be expected to do that. She actually said that to us in the middle of a 5-hour show. And that's what we do for recreation. Oh no, 62 hours. There you go. So it was a busy start to the week. By Wednesday, I was ready to relax a bit. And luckily, the internet did not disappoint me. It was cat day. Who saw cat day? This is the lawyer who appeared behind a filter as a cat and repeatedly said, "I am not a cat." Beg to differ, but you look like a cat. And what was so fascinating with it was, as he's saying, "I'm not a cat," the cat's lips are moving.
I'm going to do that at the next Catinian meeting.
Well, do you know, early in the pandemic, there was a priest. There were 2 priests. There was calamity with the pair of them. One of them set fire to his garb because he was stood next to a candle reading some prayers out, set fire to himself. I know it's not funny, but this is what Mike and I do all day, every day. Do you now see the pitfalls involved? And the second one had turned on some kind of like rabbit nose feature. Absolute classics. But the way the cat's eyes moved and the way his mouth moved, I just could not stop laughing. So Wednesday was actually quite relaxing. Normally I put panda videos on to relax, but this week it was the lawyer cat.
Do you think it will be sacrilegious to be the cat on Thursday during the prayers at the Catinian meeting?
As long as you're saying I'm not a cat while you're doing it, I don't see a problem. Which took us to Thursday. By Thursday, you'll remember Sunday. Yeah, she just about forgiven us, but only because she got a new chicken. Doesn't chicken look pristine? Look at that. I can assure you the other one, nowhere near as clean as that. She's not dragged this one out into the garden yet. You'll notice the yet on that. So she was very happy. She doesn't look happy, does she? But she's got a mouth wrapped round chicken, so she's happy. Which took us to Friday. Oh, would that Friday. I'd done everything I needed to do. I just left one thing. And I'd actually booked time down to do it from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock. It was all going to be fine. Which was when that happened. Yes, if you're wondering, that's Notion. Again. So it went down the 22nd of January and it went down today. At this stage, I thought, okay, don't panic. When it's down, sometimes it's only down for a couple of minutes. It's literally just a blip. So I thinks to myself, I know, I'll go and check the status page, get an ETA for a resolution. That's the status page. I thought that's not good. Now, we used to have a hosting company, didn't we, who hosted their status on the same server that if it was down, you were querying, which means you couldn't see the status either. In the end, they put it on a different domain. So, with the status page down, you straighten out a look. Even more annoyingly, when I did get the status page up, it was saying there was nothing wrong with it, which, clearly there was. Clearly. What was interesting about it was what the problem actually was. So without getting technical from a networking perspective, basically the DNS wouldn't resolve. The DNS is the telephone directory, the equivalent of the telephone directory. So when I type Notion in, that goes off to a DNS server, and the DNS server looks up Notion and returns back an IP address. That bit wasn't working. If you knew the IP address, which by this stage I did, you could do a dirty hack, which was you had to edit your host file on your local computer, and you did like a manual thing. So the computer does not know the IP number, the IP address for notion.so. But if I tell it manually what it is, and then say, okay, so can you go to notion.so now? Yes, it can. So I managed to salvage Mike's notes. Mine, nowhere to be seen. So, not happy at this point. I thought, I know what I need. I need that cat back. Yeah, that was me. And the cat was not a cat. I love that one. So it was down for 5 hours. 5 hours. So my 4 hours when I was going to build the solution for tonight, yeah, didn't happen because they were down for 5 hours. People were going absolutely stir crazy. The reason they were down was even worse. The .so domain name is Somalia. And many DNS servers just will not resolve SO domains because it's a little bit like Nigeria. So, and the other thing is that companies ban SO domains. So that was the problem. It wasn't that Notion themselves were down. Hence, I could extract Mike's notes. It was the fact that Notion was there, but if you can imagine not knowing the IP address you would need to type in, and even if you did, which I did, you can't get there directly with the IP address. You have to go through the name. If the telephone directory is saying to you, don't know that number, text directory, then you cannot get anywhere, and that was the issue. This is not good because it happened last month and it happened a year ago. And a year ago, they said the reason that we bought the SO domain was that all the others had gone. So .com, .co.uk, they'd all gone. You could not get Notion and then the domain name they wanted. Since then, they have managed to acquire Notion.com, which would solve everybody's problem. Companies blocking SO domains, it would solve their problem, and it would solve the problem of the DNS servers just suddenly deciding they're not going to resolve SO domains. A year ago, they said they'd get round to it when they'd got time. Still not done it.
Pete wants to know why the hell they're hosting in Somalia.
They're not hosting in Somalia. It's the domain name that's registered in Somalia. So like I said, their servers weren't down. But the DNS servers were saying, Somalia, yeah, not today. It's the worst of both worlds. Their excuse for this was they could not get Notion.com. But now they own Notion.com, but they've not decided to transfer as a matter of urgency. What was even worse was they sent a mail. I signed up for notifications for issues. I wanted to know as soon as. Now you can see this one says monitoring. But it says it's been resolved, we're continuing to monitor it. The thing was that the timing on that, as you can see, was 4 minutes to 8 Pacific. So it was 4 minutes to... Is it 4 or 5 here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 5 minutes, 4 minutes to 5 to 4. Problem with that was lying through their teeth, because the first mail that came in that said there's an issue was only 25 minutes before that one came in, and by that stage it had already been down 4 hours. So yeah, not the best experience. Let's just say that. Not the best experience today. Does it make Notion pirate software? Well, some people will think it is, yeah. It's literally just the domain name. I don't know why they went for SO either. I mean, some of them, like Spain, where it's .es, companies like, say it was Sharps with an E on the end, they would get sharp.es, and it looks quite nice. But I'm not sure about Notion.so. It's ridiculous. Anyway, hopefully they will take this third instance of this and actually sort it out. So that's why tonight's going to be a bit hairy-scary. My notes are missing. I'm sure they will appear at some point. But what everybody was saying was, as soon as this is resolved, I'm taking an offline copy. So to go to Notion tonight, it's going to be busy. So it could well be really, really slow. And that's what I said. I do have an alternative in case it's too slow to actually work with. But maybe this time they'll take some notice. While all of that was going on, there was a Tesco order, which meant Lola was on the lookout because she loves Wendy. Tonight, was it Wendy? No, but it was another lady. Lola was mortified. She wants Wendy back. But never mind. And that brings us to Two Show Friday. Luckily, we've got one under our belt because I have no idea how this one's going to go, given that everything has gone wrong. Mind you, sometimes you sit there, feet up, thinking, oh, everything's gone right, just do the show. And then it goes to heck in handcart. Today has been nothing short of a nightmare. Sometimes, and I'm not making any promises, the show is then fantastic. So we'll see how it goes. First thing to talk about, DEVONthink To Go 3. This came out a couple of days ago. You will remember we did an entire series on DEVONthink, but that was the desktop version. What we're talking about this time is the companion application for iOS. Now, it works on the phone, works on the iPad. Just need to think about how you're going to get hold of it, because what happens on iOS, they do have a few options when it comes to upgrading you. Have they done this one right? Well, they certainly think they have. Me? There's a couple of gotchas. Right, that is taken from my 11-inch iPad. So you can see it says Get, and it says in-app purchases. So if you've got version 2, which I had, you are supposed to get a cheaper upgrade. But the application is a totally separate application.
Kim wants to know if the iOS and desktop link.
Yes, they do. Now, there is also, to make it work with this new version, DEVONthink To Go 3, a new version for the desktop. So you do have to make sure that you have updated the desktop one, but there's no extra charge for that. It's just a point update to get it to link in with DEVONthink To Go 3. Everything should happen automatically, but I do know that people have had issues, and I myself had an issue. Now, the first thing to think about is, at this point, they could have done the update by overwriting in the App Store version 2, which some developers do. But DEVONthink said they didn't want to go that way because some people may need to rely on version 2. So what they did with this was put it in as a totally separate application, which is fine. But on one of my iPads, I did an update from the store. I didn't click the get button, anything else. I was just updating the apps. And I got a message to say that I couldn't update DEVONthink 2 because they'd pulled it from the store. Now, I can understand pulling it from the store from a selling it perspective, but not from an updating me to the very latest bug fixes when I've paid for it and it's gone. That could become an issue for you if you didn't get that point update fast enough before it vanished. And the reason that that might happen is the next bit. When I did download it, install it, configure it, I got to this point. And I looked at that and I thought, that's not right. Because what it's saying is, you can buy it for $38.99. You can rent it monthly for $1.99. Or you can pay yearly for $14.49. And that was it. There was no other options. That was not what I was expecting, because I have version 2. I should have been seeing 2 extra options, and I wasn't. So if you've tried this, does DEVONthink charge for the desktop and iPad separately? Yes, they do. They are 2 completely different applications. You could use the iPad-only version. You could use the desktop-only version. If you want them to talk in any meaningful way to each other as complementary applications, then you need to buy both. Now, I did have version 2 installed. I should not have been seeing that. So what I ended up doing with it was I then had to go. Luckily, I'd already updated that iPad a couple of days ago. So it had updated to the very latest point version of DEVONthink To Go 2. I just hadn't opened it. I'd done the update, not opened it. I'd opened version 3 and that was what I saw. When I went to version 2 and ran that, that was what I saw. So they're telling you they don't want you to feel obliged to upgrade, and that's why it's available as a separate app. But when you run version 3, it promised it would give you a very long trial to the end of June free of charge, and you could buy it for half price. Now, obviously, I wasn't seeing that at that stage. Closing version 3, opening version 2 and seeing that meant when I went back to version 3, I saw the extra options. In fact, the 3 options that were there originally, and I took the screenshot this way so I could fit it all on. You've got the option for the free upgrade, which is free till the 1st of August. That did say June originally. There you go, end of June. But it said 1st of August. And I had the option to upgrade to version 3, which is a one-time price, so it's not a subscription, for $19.99. But those options only became active once I'd run version 2 and then gone to version 3. So if you go in and you see anything other than that, if you're a current user, that's the issue. Now, obviously the problem with that as far as I'm concerned is, right, let's say you're an average user and not like me, updating every hour on the hour. If you missed the very last update to version 2, how on earth is this going to work? Because it's now no longer available. It also means if you take the decision you're sticking with version 2, how do you get that last update? Because it's not there anymore. And this is what gets me with the App Store. I don't know whether it's the developer or Apple that are making this way more complicated than it needs to be. But if you're having an issue, that could be one of the issues that you're having. But just try going to version 2, running it, and then going to version 3, and hopefully that will solve the problem like it did for me. I duly tapped the $19.99 button and bought it. I did, however, get £2 off that. You're wondering how. Because Amazon in the UK, don't know about abroad, have a look and let me know. Amazon at the moment are selling iTunes vouchers with 10% off. So I got myself a £100 iTunes voucher, put that on the account. It only cost me £90 to buy it, which means that I actually only paid £18 for that. Okay, at the same time as all that excitement was happening, and my plan is to look at that next week. Unless something else breaks in the meanwhile. But while all of that was happening, if you remember Take Control eBooks, who had a free book, so this is Take Control Books, they had a completely free book for DEVONthink 3. DEVONthink have paid for it and they provide it free of charge. That got a complete update. So this now covers, where it says it covers DEVONthink for Mac and DEVONthink To Go for iOS, it covers the very latest version of that. So it's been updated quarterly, and at the moment it covers the brand new version as well. It is completely free, like I say, and it's not a thin pamphlet of a thing, it's a proper book. It also goes into a lot of detail about the synchronization things that are going on. So it's definitely worth getting your hands on a copy of that if you're thinking about it. So that's the URL, takecontrolbooks.com/DEVONthink-3, and there's the QR code. All right, what's this, Tony? Any idea on the desktop version? What about the desktop version?
So,
the price of it, the desktop version is quite expensive. I think the upgrade was £99, so I'm thinking the full version is somewhere around the 200 mark. It's not cheap. It isn't. But it's very good. What I will say about it is the licensing is ridiculous. It's managed on their servers and you can't just deactivate on one machine and reactivate on another and then go backwards. Now you can do that with virtually everything else that's activated. Scrivener don't mind you doing that. Adobe don't mind you doing that. Microsoft don't mind you doing that. But DEVONthink, you can't do it. You can't just keep switching from one machine to another. If you buy one license, it covers you for 2 machines. But that's not working well for me. I do still use it, and I did manage to deactivate from my old machine and reactivate the new one. What you can't do is go backwards and forwards. You can go from one machine A to machine B, but don't then within like 10 minutes decide to go back from B to A, because it's not going to do it. You're going to have to talk to them to get beyond that. So yes, it's very expensive. The iOS version is not that expensive, and you could use it standalone. Okay, so Affinity Designer. I heard young Jonathan, this was his favourite, Affinity Designer, one of his favourite apps. So let's go in and have a look at all that is new and glorious in Affinity Designer. So the first thing they've done is select same. You're wondering, aren't you? They've had select options for quite a while. I've never seen that many people use them. But if I show you what they do, you'll see that they could actually really improve your workflow, make your life a lot easier. So let's go in and have a look at that. Let's see what mood Affinity Designer's in while we're at it. Because every time I try and make a new file, I just get blank screen. But never mind. Okay, I have some data. In fact, I've still got a Finder window open with my host file in it that I was manually hacking. Oh dear, dear me. Let's get onto it. Right, select same. I have a file. I will be showing you how I created this shortly, but I have a file. It's full of hexagons. Right, question, serious question. Are they all the same? Now, you know me. I'm not likely to sit there and make each of these individually, am I? But are they all the same? That's a good point, Tracy. The desktop version's only affordable around Black Friday. They don't partake in Black Friday, but they do partake in the winter sale. There is a winter sale, and it usually comes on about the 15th to the 18th of December. They also do a summer sale, and that is 6 months later. They used to give you a really good trial. It was something like 200 hours, but it was continuous use. So if you closed it between uses, it could last for months. I don't think they do that anymore, but it might be worth having a look at. So I would predict their next sale would be around the end of June to the middle of July. That would be my best guess. It's called Summer. Summerfest and Winterfest. If you Google those, you'll get an idea for the price difference. It's usually 25 to 40% off. And that was when I bought mine. Tracy's seen the temperature in Scotland of -22. It's cold here. Did we mention it was cold? It's -5 here at the moment. I don't think we'll get down to -22. But in Scotland, I'm sure they will. No, that's not a pattern fill. I've done something different with that. But each one of these is a separate polygon, as you can see in the layers over here. Now, I could make this really, really easy, couldn't I? By grabbing one of these and changing the colour. So if I go to the colour fill of that, and we get some nice apple colours. Oh, we could have that like that. You can instantly see that the orange one is different than all of the others. Now, let's say you'd got some orange ones like that, those 2 orange ones, and you want to select them. Well, obviously, you can click on the first one, you can hold the shift key down, and you can click on the second one, and you've now got the 2 selected. You would do that if you wanted to make a change to both of them, like that. But are all the others the same? So that's what this option is for, select same. So the first thing you need to do to make this work, because if I pick one, if I don't do anything, if I just, there's my artwork and I've not got anything selected, and I go up to select, all of these are dimmed out because I haven't got anything selected. So the first thing to make this work is to select one of them. So I'm going to grab this one here. and then go to select and select same. Now, you then need to tell it the same what. Now, if it's fill colour, that should select the pair of them. And I know that it's probably faster for you to use the shift key and select them directly, but that presupposes that you can see by looking at them which ones are the same and which ones aren't. Now, those two are clearly very different from all of these. So I'm just going to randomly select one of these and go back to select and choose same and say fill colour. Right, what should it select? How did you get those so aligned? It's perfect. Jonathan, coming up. Make sure you stay awake. Coming up. How many would you expect it to select? Obviously not the two purple ones. But would you expect it to select all the others? Now, I could choose fill colour. I could choose stroke colour. They have all actually got a red stroke on them. You could say where the fill and stroke colour on them all are the same. You could choose the weight, the transparency, the blend mode, the actual shape, even the name or the colour tag. But at the moment, we've got one selected, and I'm hoping that I can select all of the others that are identical to that one. If I try to do it by just looking at it, obviously hold the shift key down and start doing this, but there's too much scope for making a mistake or dragging these out of place because they're not locked in any way either. So it's that one. I want to select all the ones that look like that. So select same, fill colour. And has it actually done it? I think it might have done, but there are some that are not selected. So I will point them out to you. The ones that are selected now have a blue border around them because they are selected. We expected the purple ones not to be included. But did we expect these two here not to be included? Those two there. It looks like to me they should be selected. And we also have, while we're at it, over here, some more that haven't been selected. So that one there isn't selected, and that one isn't selected. And there's also one down there that's not selected. So what's going on? Is it a mistake? Is it broken? Good news is, no, it's not. I cheated. I did the thing to make the magic that got them all lined up properly. And then I changed them ever so slightly. Right, we'll do the same again. So I've clicked away. But this time we will choose that one and we will go up to select. This time we will choose the stroke and we will go for the stroke weight. And again, there's some it's not selected. It hasn't selected. Hang on. What are you doing? That one. It's not selected that one, or that one, or that one, or that one. And yet they look identical. Now, what could have happened here, obviously I did it deliberately, but what could have happened here is that you've gone in and you've made some changes and you didn't even know you'd done it. So when you come to select these things, they're not going to be selected. Let's check. So we'll select that one and look at the stroke that it's got, and it's got a 1 pixel stroke. If we look at the one above, that has got a 1.1 pixel stroke. So while they look the same, they are not identical. If you zoom in close enough, you will see there is a difference, but you would have to zoom in that closely. And that is why they've added this feature. So you can pick the ones that are actually identical, subject to what, identical in what way. So let's make sure we've got one selected. It could be the fill colour, it could be the stroke colour, and those would be independent of each other. Or you could compare the two together. It could be the stroke weight, the transparency, the blend mode, the actual shape you'd used, or the name or the tag. Now you'll notice, because I thought name, that's a bit ridiculous. But if you did want all of these selected to do something with them, but you can't choose the border because they're different, and you can't choose the fill colour, because they're different. The name would work if you look at what you've got in here, because when you created them, each one was a polygon, and that's what it says. Now, I do appreciate you may have gone in and renamed these things, and this is where you have to actually think about it. Does their fill colour actually have a different tint? Yes, it does. Some of them do. If we have a look at the fill colour, what did I do with it? Let me do a select all. Select the same fill colour. Right, so that one is 93% opacity at the top there, up there. But the next one is 100. So it's not selecting that because it's 93. And that one's 80. Now, considering there's a 20% difference there, you really can't tell by looking at it. So just a way to, maybe if you've got like odd ones selected and you do want to affect the 80% ones, that's a good way of making a selection. But if you did want to select them all, then the best way to select them all, I mean, you can literally do a Command and A, can't you? But that's because there's only polygons in here. What if I had other content? Then Command and A would not work. But at the point I decide what I'm calling these things, if I leave them all as polygon, that means I should be able to select them all by just selecting the name. I will pick one of them just randomly in here. So that's that one there, and I'll change the name. So we'll say different name. Right. Oh, bless her, she's snoring next to me now. She's a very happy, contented dog at the moment. Right, so we know that this one has got a different name. But if I select that one, which is called Polygon, and go to Select and go to Same and choose Name, it should select all the ones that are called Polygon, and that's exactly what it's done. So I've always said before, when you're working with layers, call them what they should be. If you remember, I designed a poster for MacBites, had a bus on it. And I was calling things left wheel, right wheel, window, mirror, because I needed to find that if I needed to make a change with it. That would enable me if I want to change the tint on the windows. I've got windows on the front, the side, all over the place. If I've called them window at some point, then now with this new feature, I can select just the window and change the tint. And it's easy to do. So you need to come up with a naming convention that works for you. So if this is something you're printing in a magazine or something, and you want these purple things to mean something, if you leave it as polygon, you would be able to select these with everything else. But if you want to be able to work with them separately, you may choose to name them something else. What you need to think about now is, okay, when I'm deciding what to name that, is there another way that I might want to work and be able to isolate part of my artwork? Now, it gives you so many different ways to do this. You don't have to rely on the name. I'm just saying that if the names were polygon like that, you would be able to do it. But let's say that these two were something specific. So that one there and that one. So the two purple ones, they are something specific in my artwork. What I'm doing here is right-clicking on the names in here, and I'm using these colours at the bottom. And what that does, I click away, you can see we've got purple there, and we have another purple one there. Now, I use the colours to mean certain things in my artwork. Not always the same thing in each artwork. And if that's the case, that it's not the same in each artwork, then I need a key, and I will create an artboard that's got a key on it. So I know what that actually means. I'll know what it means when I create it, and I guarantee you a week later I won't have a clue. So I create a key for it, but if you always use green to mean it's signed off and amber to mean it needs some work, then you wouldn't need to create a key. I've just made those there, the two purple ones, and I'm clicking on this one here. Right, but if I click on one of them and I go back up to select and I go to same object and I choose the tag colour, it will select based on the tag colour. How many of you use the tag colour? Exactly, Peter. It did remind me a bit of Blockbuster. How many of you use the colours? When they added that to Photoshop, it was like, oh, my world's complete. And they added it in here, and I must admit, I don't use it as often as I probably should. But I might do now, because now I can do clever things with it, so I might do. So that's using that. So do have a look under the select same, and just have a look what's in there. It could be you decide that you've got, I don't know which is which here. Let's take these two. You could decide to change the blend mode here. Now that won't make any difference at all if I use darken. In fact, you won't get much change on any of these, but let's say that I do change those. And then I choose one of these, I go back to select, I go down to same, and this time I choose blend mode. And the two that have the same blend mode are there. Sounds cool, but not Paul. Tackly needs to use more, Kim. Oh, Jonathan's never used them. Debbie when she remembers, and Deborah not at all. Only on layers so far. Oh, then there's plenty of scope, isn't there, when you're working with it? The thing is, you'll know, when you start working with some artwork, you'll be playing around with it. You probably won't start off with being very strict with yourself. It's a bit like dimming X as a variable, isn't it, Mike? You'll realise what a terrible idea that was 3,000 lines later.
Or dim I and J, as most examples are.
Or whatever it is, don't do it. Just make it work for your artwork. It depends on how you're working with it.
Do you remember that guy on that internet, that web hosting forum that would create classes and call them purple?
Oh yeah, don't do that. You know when you create a style in Affinity Publisher for the text and you call it blue header and then the client says I want it green, and then you've got to go through and change the name as well as the definition. Just call it primary header. And then you can change the colour and forget the naming thing. Otherwise, you'll drive yourself insane. Right, so that is selecting same based on something. So you do need one of these shapes to be the one that you want to select all the ones that match. But other than that, you can match in a million different ways. Which is good news, isn't it? Right, I'm going to go back into here. The next thing is related to that. It's select object. Now you might say, well, just a minute, all those things were objects. This one probably goes a little bit further. It's not the properties of the object, it's the actual object properties, which might sound the same, but it's not. So you've got, we could have selected all the polygons because they were all called polygon. But what about selecting everything that was a shape? We didn't have what I call a hook to do that. What select object does is extend the capabilities of select same. So let's have a look at that. Right, I have a file for this, which is not this one, but I will save that file and go and open the other one. Objects. Here we go. So this file's got loads of different objects in it. It even has a panda in it, just to calm me down. If you're thinking that's not a panda, it is. It's a red panda. They're about the size, but a big domestic cat size. Do you remember when I sat at the zoo for 3 hours to get a picture of it? Poor Mike. He said, should we go look at the elephants? No, Mike, I'm sitting here. I want the panda. That's all I wanted to see. The rest I wasn't bothered. Oh, the meerkats. The meerkats were very cute.
Oh, they were.
I did spend quite a while with the meerkats. But it was the red panda I wanted to see. There were 2 of them. Oh, they were so cute. But they were asleep. So I had to wait for 3.5 hours to get a picture. But I did. So what we've got in here is a range of shapes. They are all formatted in a certain way. But obviously, this one's a slightly different colour. This one has not got this colour on it. So it's going to be tricky if I want to make selections to use the select same. It will work. So if I say select, let's pick this one, and say select same fill colour, it will make certain selections based on that. But it would be better if we could do it in a different way. So I'm going to select a shape and this time go to select object. And now you have a whole range of things that you can select here. With this one, you don't even need it selected. So if I click away and I've got nothing selected, all these are still live, but you'll notice that these aren't. So in here, you've got the ability to select art text, frame text, path text, curves, even open curves or closed curves. Shapes, artboards, filled, unfilled, all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff. So if I wanted to select something that was an image, then it will select the panda at the bottom. If there were two pandas, so we'll put another panda over there, it would select both of them because they are images. Right, let's go back up there, select object and say art text. And despite the fact that there is 3 hello worlds there, it's only selected 1. That's because this first one is art text. This one is from below here. We have artistic text tool and we have the frame text tool. So that one is frame text. If you aren't clear about the difference between them, because they do look identical, I formatted them that way deliberately. Art text is where you can stretch things out and apply styles to it and all kinds of things. This one is where you would put more text. So it's a frame into which you can put a lot of text. So you might decide to use the artistic text for a header, but put the block of text underneath it. But either way, if we go to select and you're looking for frame text, that will select the text that is frame text. Which means we've done 2. We've done that one, but this one wasn't selected at all with either of them. So if we go back to select object, what is the third option? Well, that's path text. When we select that, that is actually text on a path. So you can only have text in here in three different ways. It's either art text, it's the frame text, or it's text on a path. So those are the 3 options there. Right, what else have we got available from up there? Well, we've got shapes. So select the shapes. It looks like it's selected all of them, but it hasn't actually. It's not selected this one. So that one there that's lighting up in purple, didn't select that. And it didn't select this one either, because it's only selected the shapes. To make sure we can select these, let's go back. And under the select objects, what if it was curves? Aha, we've got 3 curves. We've got this one here that's just like a squiggle. We've got that one that looks like it's a shape, but it's not. And this one as well. So let's get more specific with that. So back up to select object again and choose closed curves. And it's picked just the one. That is a manually created closed curve. If you don't know how to do that, it's the pen tool and you just click, 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 click. So I'm releasing the mouse pointer between each click, and then to make it a closed curve, as I move that over that last point, there is, and I know it's very tiny to see it, there's a circle next to the pen. That's telling you it's going to close the path. If you move it away, there's a plus which says it's just going to add. So to close a path, you need to hover and actually close it, and you've created a closed path. The reason to create a closed path is because if you want to give that a fill, it needs to be a closed path. So we've created this closed path. That was coming up as a closed path. Let's go back and see if it picks the same now. So closed curves. Okay, it's got both of them. So far, so good. But that still leaves us this shape over here. Why is it not picking that? And that's because that is not actually closed. If we zoom into it, look at that. It looks like it's closed. There's a couple of ways we can tell it's not. If we put a fill on it, it looks like it is. Let's just undo that. But if we double click on it, you can see we've got this red point, which is not attached to anything. It just happens by coincidence it's put there. If I move that out of the way and we go back and put a fill on it, it does look like there's a fill on it, but there's no line here because it's an open curve. So even if it looks like it's got a fill, it hasn't, because the border around it, I mean, that's not the best border to see, is it? Let's make it that colour. Then you can see it. It's missing on the right hand side. So if I go up to select and select object and choose open curves, it will select that one because it really is an open curve. Right, let's zoom out a bit. Did it select anything else? Yes, it did. It selected this curve at the bottom. And that was literally just drawn with the pen tool as well. I then did something else with it because this hello world is actually sat on a copy of that curve, but you don't see that because the path disappears when you allocate the text to it. When you put the text on the path then disappears. But the path is still there in case you want to make changes to it. So if I wanted to stretch this, we could do, and then move the whole thing up, and you get a totally different look for the text on the path. So it's still editable. So it's all to do with selecting based on the actual type of the object. And as you can see, you've got a lot of different things in there, including artboards. Now, there are other ways to select artboards. How would you guys select an artboard? Let's go and add an extra artboard. We've got one at the moment. All right, you can add an artboard by going over here. So there is another artboard. So we've got two at that point. How do you guys select them? Oh, Jonathan says, what can you use open curves for? They don't seem to be useful compared to filled ones. Depends on your actual need. I mean, if you want something to have half a border and not the other half, mainly I wouldn't particularly put a fill on an open path. So it might be that I want to put like a shape on there and I want the outline of it, but I don't want a fill. And then it doesn't matter whether it's open at the end or not. You would know when you came to use it, Jonathan. If it isn't looking right, then you could potentially use an open one. How often do I use that? Not often, to be honest. Very infrequently. So if anybody's got, when do you guys use it? Because I'm with Jonathan. I don't use it much at all. It's enough for me to know that it's there, and sometimes when I get artwork in, I'll think that's not right. And what's happened is they've not actually finished it off. So you can go in and close it yourself and solve the problem. But not often is the answer, Jonathan. Not often. Right, Renee would use the move tool to select these boards. You actually can do that. But what I tend to do, I would fold everything up, and over here I can just select both. So in the layers panel, click the first one, hold the command key down and click the second one. If you have more boards than that, so I've just created two more, and I'm moving that one over there and this one over there. Right, if I wanted to select board 1 at the bottom and at the top, that's the command key. Wanted to select the bottom one and all of them, then it's the shift key. So very similar to working with text, to be honest. Okay, so that's selecting multiple artboards. I did that manually, but now you can use the select and go to object and choose artboards as an option. Where's my artboards gone? There we go. And that selects them all. That's a really good way to do it if you've got lots of things open in the layers, or you've zoomed into one particular artboard and then you want to select all the artboards. So just a different way to select your content, but this time based on the actual content here rather than the properties of the content. It's the fact it's a shape. It's the fact it's an open curve. It's the fact of what it is, not how you've styled it. So you've got two completely different ways to make lots of selections. That is going to be invaluable when you're working with artwork that has got layers upon layers upon layers, or groups of content, because some will be hidden behind other things, and this will select it irrespective of that. So I think it's a good addition. I think to get the most out of it, you would have to start using it, and given how it works, I think you'll probably forget it's there. But you might not, never mind, you might not. What do you guys think? Are you going to remember to use that or not? I personally think it would depend very much on the artwork involved. Okay, so we've had a look at that one. Let's close that one down and go back into there. Right, the next one is place and scale images. Now, if you were with us last week and you saw the Affinity Publisher update, it's fairly similar to that. Let's go and have a look at it. I have a file for this as well. In fact, I do believe I have two. When my mouse pointer comes back to me. Come on. Okay, place images. There we go. So I have the first image. You can see what kind of day I've had. Yeah, EPS files and things where if you've ever got something from a stock library and it's either Illustrator, EPS, SVG, it goes on forever. There's thousands of pieces. It's like a horrible jigsaw. The ability to select everything that's a certain colour is going to be mind-blowing. I wish that they would come in properly, but they just don't tend to. So, I have got this image of a panda. I got this via the stock panel, so you can actually get exactly the same image if you want. What I am now going to do is to use from the toolbar, the tool list over on the left, the Place Image tool. So I'm going to click on there, and I need to go into here because I have this index file, which is a PDF, and I want to place it on this calendar. So all I'm going to do is click open. Did that work? Where did that appear? There we go. My mouse pointer is not changing. It should have changed. But what I've got there is a transparent PDF that I've placed into the negative space of that image to use as a calendar. Now, you now have all these options at the top. It's saying it's an embedded document. It's giving you a size, so you could scale it. So if you've inadvertently brought this in and think, is that 100% or not? You've got the ability to go back up to here and actually type in 100% or hit the original size option. You can then with this, even though it's PDF, you can go through and change the blend modes. Now, a lot of these aren't going to work on this particular image, but down the bottom, the erase one, which is, I don't think I've ever used that, actually works quite nicely for this one. What it's doing is showing you the outline of the item at the top, and it's punching out what's behind it. So it makes it look white. And even if you move that round, there you go. So let's put that there. You can change here whether it uses the trim box, the art box, the bleed box, or anything else. Now that's going to be based on the image type you use, and I used a PDF, and a PDF has all of those options in it. Other file types may not do. You'll also notice here that we have a couple of fonts, and we discussed last week the PDF pass-through, and that feature is available here as well. Although it doesn't lose it if you change it to interpret, it does change it fractionally. However, in this case, it works better. So let me zoom in. Right, that's what it looks like. On my machine, I have both these fonts. This back font is called Keep Calm, and the front font is called Atlantic Script. And because those fonts are installed on this system, that looks absolutely fine. No problem at all. But if I handed this file off to you, I just did save as and sent it to you, and you didn't have those fonts, then the interpret isn't going to work. You're going to need to change it to pass-through. And what pass-through does is give you a representation of the file as it is supposed to look. But there is a negative impact here. Now, last week we did not have a negative impact, but this week we do. So last week, a lot of you said, oh, that's fantastic. Complete fidelity with what the file should look like. When would I ever use interpret? And this is when, because when you change that to pass through, it passes it through all right, but it's very, very, very pixelated because it's a representation of it. That would work on a machine that did not have those fonts installed, but it wouldn't give you the best look for that embedded file. So that is when you would use interpret rather than pass through, when you do actually have the font. You can also, from here, with this new toolbar at the top now, remember that that is a PDF file. You can actually click to edit the document, and it will open it up in there to edit it. And you can edit away to your heart's content. I don't need to particularly change the colours or whatever here, but if I did decide, for instance, that the text in there I would like to be bigger than that, then I could actually, this is probably far easier elsewhere, but let's try and make that bit bigger. It's only doing the first one. It would, wouldn't it? Okay, my fans are going mental tonight. You heard it?
Mm.
Right, trying to make a selection here. There we go. Right, so I'm going to select these. I best grab the lot, otherwise I've got to try and match that first one, and I have no idea what that was. There we go. I'll make them hideously huge. So I've edited the PDF file. You can see it's embedded, so it's an embedded file. I'm saving it, closing it, and there's our calendar, and that ripples through straight away. I know it's not lined up. We're not worrying about that. It's the principle that you can actually edit it in here. So there is your file. You can also in here replace the document. I could have selected same, couldn't I? See what I mean, Renee? Would that have worked? Possibly not, because I think, unless, that's a very good point, because it's in a PDF, isn't it? So it should do. I'm just thinking that all of the text was the same colour. So I might have had to have selected by something else. I shall ponder that. You can also replace this document as well, if you wanted to. So that is virtually identical to what you've got in Publisher. It's just the benefit that you have it in here rather than having to start work on a document in Publisher, because you may or may not need to do something like this. As I said, that was embedded. We will come on to what to do with file sizes and sharing files shortly. So let's get rid of that one. Can't remember why we had a new one, but we won't save it. And I think we already saved that one, so we'll get rid of that one. Okay, let's get into the next one. And the next one is custom brushes from Pixels, which is something you've been able to do in Photo for years. This is just new in here. So let's have a go with that. I do love it when this dialog box comes in empty and then I have to play whack-a-mole. Where's my mouse gone again? Where have you gone? I think it's about there. Excellent. 1280 by 720. They really need to fix this. Literally, as you click, they all become alive. But they're not there when you open the file. It's driving me insane. Right, luckily I know where that one is. So I'll put that one there. We will use an artboard on it. There we go. Right, what you can do is you can put any kind of shape on here. So we'll, what shall we choose? We'll have some hearts. Let's draw out some hearts there like that. This would work for Valentine's Day, wouldn't it? I'll make it hearts. What else have we got in here that could work for Valentine's Day? No. Let's have. We won't have tears. That would not be good. No, we'll use hearts and stars. That's what we'll do. Well, let's put some stars in. Right, and over there. So I'm going to create some of these how I actually want them to be. So like that. Put some of these over there. Don't really need to go too crazy here, because a lot of the work is going to be done down the line. But what I would probably want to do with these, let's put a gradient on them. Something nice. I was going to put it across the whole lot, but that will do. There we go. And we'll make that 2 shades of red, because it's Valentine's Day. Right, let's go get the red. Probably garish red. And we'll have a deeper red over here. So we'll start with that, but we will change it slightly. We'll have a deeper red. I want it to get it to brown, but that'll do nicely. Okay, so what we've got at that point is just shapes on there. Right, I'm going to group those together. No, that did not select. There we go. Let's do that and group them together. And then duplicate them. So I've got an editable copy. Happy Valentine's Day to you too, Kim. Right, save copy or editable copy, whatever you want to call it, just in case you want to go back and make some changes to it. Right, this group down here I will group together. We're going to do that way. Right. They are now curves, but I am going to change them. I'm going to rasterize them. That turns them into pixels. They then don't need to be in that group at all. So these are now pixels. Right, I'm going to change modes. I'm going to go into the pixel persona. When I go into the pixel persona, these pixels should enable me up here to create a new brush from selection. So what I have actually selected. Now, that's not particularly amazing because it's too close. So what I'd be looking to do here is change the spacing on it. So I get like, I can actually see what they are. So something like that. But even so, if I left it like that, I'd get something that was very predictable. And what you need to do is change the dynamics to completely change the brush. So in the dynamics section, you can choose to say change the size. So some bits would be bigger than others. So we'll add a little bit of size jitter to it. You can change how it scatters. So you can have like an offset, if you want, in different ways. So that's basically, as you're moving the brush across, how far away from where you're moving your mouse do you want this brush to scatter to? You can also do a shape jitter. That's not actually doing much use at all. The saturation will change the colour. So you see you've got like a light colour and it's down to grey now. So you can do that as well. Let's have a look at some of these. That one is just about right, unless I want it red, obviously, for Valentine's Day. But you can actually change the hue and you will get it randomised. In this situation, probably want pretty much the red that we've got there. So we've got, let's try flow. Now what flow will do is make it look like pressure. As you go into the stroke, the pressure will be in the middle and it will kind of fade out towards the end. So that might work quite nicely. It's going to depend. But I think that looks pretty decent. So click close. Right, at this point, let's turn that off. Don't need to see that. Get rid of that. And let's have a look at the brush. Now it's obviously a little bit on the big side, so let's take that down a bit. And as we start drawing around, we've got a lovely, lovely heart thing going on with colours and all sorts there. Now, what can you actually do with that? Well, I'm going to fill this in here. So there's lots of hearts and we haven't got much in the way of space. I'm trying to eyeball here. That should be enough. Say like that. Probably better with a Wacom tablet. Right, and then go back into here. So I'm now back in the vector persona, but I've got this, which is filled with all my pixels. Right, I'm going to turn that off as well. Don't need to see that at the moment either. But what I will do is go and get the text tool, and in here, put love in huge letters, but also thick letters. So there's a couple of fonts that work well for this, Impact being one of them. So it gives you a big chunky thing there like that. Okay. And what I will then do is turn that on, but then restrict that to there and it fills it in. You can then with that, if you want to, because you've got a black fill at the moment. If you wanted a white fill, you could do that. If you're going to do a white fill, I would probably put a border on it and I would probably make the border black and then make the stroke more like that. Now, obviously, like I've said, you could do that in photo, but the ability to do that all within Designer is new to this version. So there you go. Your own custom brush. Don't forget at that point, so here are the brushes. These are vector brushes. When you go into the pixel mode, you get pixel-based brushes. And I've created two of these. This one I did there was, let's choose that one and get another artboard. Let's make that smaller. Did I have another artboard? Don't think I did. Let's add another artboard here. Let's show you that one. Right, back over there. Brushes. This one I made from a tier shape, and it was supposed to be map pins. So what I did with that one was put location, location, location on it. So it's very, very quick to do this. Once I've done that, I should remember the font. So let's put location on it. I think that's got that right. It's just far too big. Let's take that down a bit. Thus. Grab that down. And again. And again. And I've got the background in here. What I need to do is to clip that to one of the locations at the bottom. And then duplicate it. So once I've got my 3 copies, I clip each one into the text, and I've got location, location, location. And I can even change that up by making one of them really tiny, so the location pins are much smaller, and move them up, get a different effect with it. Thus. So it makes it far easier to do stuff like that. So that one is custom brushes. Okay, let's save that. No, we don't particularly want you saving in there, but that'll do. Right, and let's move on to the next one. Oh, handily, the next one is the contour tool. Is young Jonathan still with us? He should be, shouldn't he, at 10:15?
He should.
He should. We'll see how he's going.
Well, he gave a thumbs up a few minutes ago in the chat.
I think he's still with us then. Right, this one people are going crazy about, and I must admit, my first reaction, yeah, whatever. Because everything that they're saying, oh, you can do this, you can do this. It's like, yeah, and I can do that 3 other ways. So why am I excited? And then it struck me. And that was when it got very exciting. So I will show you the contour tool. Oh, it's done it again. It's sort of in the middle. Do you know, life's too short.
Jonathan's still in the chat.
Excellent, excellent. Right, I just need to grab that bit there. If Affinity are watching, could you possibly fix this? Cheers. We'll be very, very impressed. Renee looks very excited about the contour tool, whereas I'm a bit whatever. I'm just not.
Talking about if Affinity are watching, in one of those Excel sessions, somebody said to the guy who was delivering, who was an MVP, if you've got the ear of Microsoft, couldn't you tell them XYZ? And he said, I've told them countless times and I get told great feedback and nothing happens.
Yep.
If they say good feedback, they usually implement it. If they say great feedback, nothing happens.
Oh, well, now we know. Now we know how Oh. It doesn't work with PNGs. What doesn't work with PNGs, Debbie? Which bit? Let me know. Right, the contour tool.
I love Debbie's typo.
That could be the typo of the day. I'm liking that. There you go. Can we have that as the title? It doesn't work with pigs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Debbie, fantastic. You made me smile. Okay, the contour tool. Right, you need a couple of shapes. So, the demo everybody is doing is let's add a circle and let's add another circle. Hang on. Not like that. All right, let's add another circle and another circle and another circle. Right, now we've got circles. Right, you could even make these different if you wanted to. So you could change the colour of the lovely circles. There we go. Now we've got lovely circles. We don't want a grey circle, do we? Right. The contour doesn't work on PNGs. No, it's very much vector based, this. Like I said, I'm not overly impressed myself.
That was an autocorrect.
Oh, autocorrect. Do you know what autocorrect drives me insane with? Fur, F-I-R. I am never going to be typing fur, F-I-R. If I was to say, what I'm trying to type is for, and without exception it changes it to fur. If I ever want to type fur, it'll be a U, not an I, and it never learns. It never learns. Right, so we've got these objects. Let's contour them before we all Drop from old age. Right, the contour tool is new. It's here in the toolbar on the left, 4th button down. Remember the O key if you want to use it, because that's just far easier. Right, what it does, you drag up like that, and it adds a border on the outside. Yeah. Who's thrilled so far? Can't say I was, just saying. Honestly, I wasn't. There is a lava lamp demo going around that everybody seems to think is fabulous. I also can't get excited about that, but I'll show it to you. Who's seen the lava lamp demo? Right, let's make these much smaller, but we do need them round, and we need more of them. There we go, lava lamps. Lava lamps. Let me know if you've seen the lava lamp demo. Right, I need the tool, and I need to, for that to work, I need to go inwards like that. So I've got a gap. So it works both extending it outwards, like putting a border on it, and taking it inside like that. Debbie's seen the lava lamps. Were you thrilled with the lava lamps? Right, so I'm putting these in here like this. So they're overlapping, are the lava lamps. Of course I've seen it. Were you thrilled? Because I wasn't. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not interested. It's just me. I'll show it to you just for the people who haven't seen it, but I really couldn't be much enthused about it myself. Right. The one thing that's worth seeing with this is that you might not know this. We've done Boolean ops before, like shape merge. But I do remember that Dee asked if we could do the whole Boolean op thing again. So Boolean ops are these things that you have at the top here. Add, subtract, intersect. Don't want to grab that one. XOR and divide. These are your... Now you see, Renee's already used it. Mini Christmas trees inside a Christmas tree outline for next year's corporate card. That's a good idea. Right, so these are the Boolean ops. But if I Boolean this, so if we just grab this and we do that, we get one curve. There's the curve. And we can't do any more with it. It's now a set of curves and there's nothing we can do with it. So we don't want that. So let's undo that. Right, one thing you can do, same button, and this is where the discoverability is absolutely shocking. Hold down the Option key and hit exactly the same button and you get a compound shape, which looks like a lava lamp, or it will in a minute. A compound shape is different from merging them together because you still have access to each individual shape within the compound shape. Right, so you need to grab one of the compound shapes and pull it out like a lava lamp. Look, it connects and then you pull it and it twangs off. Oh, fabulous. Again, no, not me. I can add extra ones in. I'm holding down the Option key and adding extra ones in, and obviously you can scale those as will, and as you move them it gives you this lava-like thing. Yeah, so I worked my way through that and thought that's fabulous. Note the excitement. But then I hit upon something that I was actually trying to do for real about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And I was horrified to discover that while Illustrator was fine doing it, and Gravit Designer, but Affinity couldn't do it. And that did horrify me. Now, what was I trying to do? Well, it wasn't a lava lamp, I can assure you. So we'll name the artboard Lava Lamp and move on to something far more useful. Right, I'll put an artboard in. It should be over here. What I was trying to do, if you remember, I showed you a few things in PowerPoint. The night it blew young Jonathan's mind. And what I wanted in PowerPoint, and I wanted to do it in PowerPoint, was have some shapes and have some pictures showing through. So if we imagine something like a diamond, maybe, right? I wanted to have a few diamonds. Hang on, we need to do that. Like this, so, line them up properly. and have a photo showing through. And my problem was PowerPoint couldn't line the shapes up properly. They were twanging all over the place. So I thought, that's fine. I'll do it in Affinity Designer and I'll take it through as a shape. And that would have been fine if it had worked, but it didn't. Okay, because I needed to move them and I couldn't particularly move them. So if you imagine, I need to move that down 10 and I need 20. I need to move it that way. And this is what I was doing. It was horrible. So I was in here struggling and I ended up putting in lots of these to line things up to. And it was too time consuming. It was ridiculous that it had to be that difficult. When if I could put the shapes next to each other, it would be absolutely fine. So let's use a triangle. And let's say in here, we want to draw out a triangle. We'll make it 180. In fact, should we make it 200? We don't want to make it too big. Let's keep it at 180. Right. So let's say I want to create, so my reason for doing this is I want to create something I can take into PowerPoint as like a mask. And I want to see some things behind it. So I'm going to duplicate this when we get there. So we'll put this down at the bottom. And I'm holding the Option key down. I'm pulling out the second one. Now, Jonathan asked, how did you get those hexagons lined up? Well, same way I'm doing this here. So I'm creating a row at the bottom. Now that's going to leave me a bit of a gap at the end. I should probably have worked it all out, but let's not worry about that. I'll just stretch it to fill it at the end. So what I've got here is a row of shapes. Easiest way to work with that now is to duplicate the whole lot and flip them round, making sure that they are square like that. That will actually fill the gap in. I will then need one more at the end. So I'm holding the Option key down and I'm pulling it across. Perfect-ish. One more that way. There we go. Have got a gap here. So what I need to do is line this lot up. Still got a gap. So best thing to do is probably sling in another one of these at the end. And to not be particularly concerned about that. So let's move that in. Now, that's not quite in the middle, but you know, I'm going to go for it because it's the principle I'm showing you, not the nuances here. So I'm going to need to put one over there to fill that gap in. But it's really simple to create one line of them, isn't it? Really easy. Right, then I'm going to select both rows that we've got that are like teeth intersecting each other. And I'm going to move that one up. And we'll do exactly the same. And it's going to twang. It's really simple, like that. And what it's going to look like when I've done is an entire wall of triangles. So far so good, but not exactly thrilling. Because they're just triangles. Right, but if I select the whole lot and press the O key, we know if I take it outwards, we'll get a border. But if I take it inwards, we'll get a gap. And you can actually export that like that into PowerPoint, which was exactly what I wanted. And my problem was getting the shapes that I needed lined up properly in here with the gap. Because if you look at this, you might say to me, oh, that's really simple. No, it's not. Because these triangles are not the same height anymore. The point here does not come down to the bottom. The point there does not go up to the top. So you would actually have to scale your triangles. It was confusing. It was hideous. So that's the triangles. Let's get another artboard, because the other one that I did, that's a little bit more complicated, but still not that difficult. Right, if we come in here and we get the polygon tool and we add a polygon. What should we go for there? I'm not concerned about the size. Let's not worry about it. Right, there. Remembering what I'm doing with this, I want to take this into PowerPoint. That would solve a problem. I was literally at the point of having to install Illustrator. I mean, the fact I've got Illustrator to install, fair enough, but that's not the point. So what I've got with this one, I've got my one shape here. I need to then create the other ones. So I will put it in the middle and see if we can do it from there. So I'm pulling one out, duplicate, and it twangs. So to line them up is really simple because it just twangs. Now we know from the other one that we could do with some hanging over the edge. And of course I could then grab all of these and pull them that way and do them en masse. That's actually twanging and sticking to that, but I want it stuck to that. And then add one more because I'm going to need to make copies of these. You've actually gone on there. Let me just zoom out a bit and put it at the other end. I should probably put these artboards a little bit further apart, and that would solve my problem. Right, so I've got all those shapes that I need. There they are. And then pull them down. Once you've done this, as Renee points out, you can power duplicate them if you want. So you could have done that with a single line. I'm just showing you multiple ways of doing this. Not quite there, I don't think. We've got a slight gap, so the whole thing needs to move slightly that way. I think we're done. Does it need one more? There we go. And once we've done that, we should be able to do that, but that's not quite worked. Hang on, let's undo that. Better way to go is those ones there. So grab hold of those. I can hear you moving, lady. What are you up to? What mischief are you up to?
She's not up to any.
Right, there we go. And that should then work. Sort of, but not quite. It's not working quite as I'm hoping, but never mind. Right, so I'm just going to put these in. I've got them grouped, so it's literally just moving them. So power duplicate should work fantastically. Not working for me right at the moment. So let's grab these down here. I'm basically just covering it. Now you may decide to put these on in a different place. So I've gone from the middle with this one. And I'm going to need one more at the top. And I'm good to go. This time I'll grab everything. Don't want to grab everything quite that far. Don't think we need those either. Let's get rid of those. Grab that lot. Okay. And move inwards so we've got the gap. And that, Jonathan, was how it was all neatly lined up. And don't forget, of course, when you've got something like that, you could make it much, much bigger and then group it together. And if I get the right tool, you can then bring that in like that and make it a little bit smaller, depending on what you want on your slides. So that was what I was using it for. I wanted something like that on my slides so I could put an image behind it and then see it through. You can also, with that, let's duplicate that. This is called the contour tool, Tracy. It is the fourth one down in the toolbox on the left-hand side. Right, is that my second artboard? It is that one there. Okay. Right, that's good as far as it goes, isn't it? It's pretty good, that, as far as it goes. Right, let me grab all of this lot again. So all of those. Right, what I've actually done with that, if I make the contour tool active, is I can take them and make them really tiny, or I can take it and we can actually have it where we've got what looks like an overlap. And it is indeed an overlap. But what you can then do is at the top here, you have the contour tool context sensitive toolbar, which you can change the type of the contour. So we've got round joints, you can have square joints, you can have mitered joints. So whichever kind of join you want. You've also got the ability to change the fill. So at the moment it's set to auto closed, but you also have the option to force open it. And when you do that, you get the reverse of the pattern that you've created. So if we zoom out so you can see both of them, the one on the left is the default, and the one on the right is where I've opened it up, and now you've got a kind of hexagonal mesh that you could put over something as well. Right, let's grab that lot again. And the third option, it just really takes you back to what you had before, which was in there. That one's just going to force close it. So we've gone from the auto one to the force open to the force close. Now at this point, this is editable. You can go back in and you can make changes to it. So if I decide here this is okay, but I want it, I want it like that. Or I want to make it much, much skinnier so you can barely see it. Yeah? I want to make some changes to it. Then you're going to need an editable version to make changes to. But, so that's our group there. All right. We've grouped them together into that group. All right. What I'm going to do with that is duplicate it. And again, I'm going to call that editable copy. Take that away. And in here, where we've got this lot, I'm going to make sure that this is then not editable. And to do that, there is a bake appearance option. That's a fantastic name. I'm loving that. Right. Let's click on there, bake appearance. And it should bake the appearance of those, and then I would not be able to edit it. So hopefully that's worked. I have got everything selected, so it should have done. Not at all sure that that has actually baked the appearance. Way to try it. Go into there. No, it's still letting us edit it. Good grief. No, that should bake the appearance. I've got it selected. That's better. That looks like it's baked the appearance now. Okay. That, to me, is one of the most useful things that I could do with that contour tool. You love the name. The putting of a border behind it does not exactly float my boat. But other people are loving it for text and stuff like that. But that was what I wanted to do. I actually wanted this look on this artboard. Didn't want as many hexagons as that. I just kind of wanted a corner of hexagons. And to try and line them up was a nightmare. I ended up using grids and all sorts to try and get them to line up. So young Jonathan noticed that they were all beautifully lined up and probably wanted to do that. Right, let's add in. She's snoring again. Bless her. Right, let's get another artboard.
She's lying there.
And let's get this. So we're talking about like this, I presume. Let's duplicate that. Let's get a couple of these. Right. So with them selected and the contour tool, if we do that, we actually get them thicker. So yes, they were just single lines. They were drawn with the pen tool. So pen tool, one line. V key. There is one there. And then duplicate that. Okay. And then as you move them, so once I've selected them, as you get the contour tool on them and you start pulling out, they get much bigger, or you can go the other way. So yes, it does work on that. I've seen people use that for things like shirts and stuff like that. That might have some use. There was one that was an architectural building. So again, as Renee says, it would make a line look like a shape, but it behaves like a curve. Therefore, I'm wondering about that. Okay, let's take one of these. If that's a line, which it clearly is, so we can do that with it. We can then put some text on it. That's mighty thick, isn't it? So it's applying to the text as well. So I'm assuming if we do that, there you go, it's going around that. So it starts off basically putting like a thickness on here, and then as you carry on, you can see the text, and then that gets much, much bigger. You may have a need for something as really weird as that. There you go. There you go. I particularly like the ability. For me, it's going to be game-changing with what I can do with PowerPoint, but that's just me. Your mileage may vary with the PowerPoint thing. Okay, we'll call that number 2 and just save it and get rid of it. Okay. Right, we've had a little bit of a look on about text on a path. They've updated it fractionally, so we'll have a look at the update to it. We did do a whole thing on text on a path. Maybe Mike can find it if Notion's in a good mood. Mouse pointer.
Text on a path.
Yeah, we did it around... It'll be after 90 and before 100, because we did it for the 100th logo for After Hours. Okay, let's get that on there. Insert an artboard. Right, we can create a path and we can put text on it. So let's make a wavy path to put some text on. There we go.
96.
There you go. That wasn't bad, was it? 96 is where we discussed all of this. Right, I'm going to drag out. So as I drag out, it lets me choose the size that I would want the font to be. So I can create it quite big. Right. Hello, MacBiters. Right. All right, what if I say hello and welcome, MacBiters? Then we have a problem because it's all over the place, isn't it? And when you're trying to fix something like that, it can be a nightmare. So this is where we start it. So we can pull that round. And basically, if I make that much smaller, I'm actually looking... There we go. Let's see it there. Right, what we've got is this eyeball. And the eyeball makes it way easier to work with because you can actually toggle off the extra text while you manipulate this. So while you're trying to get this to a point that you can see everything and fit everything on it, you can actually toggle that on and off. You've got all the same options that you had before. It's just fractionally easier to deal with, basically. So I'm moving this end point, and that's getting rid of that over there, which is showing me I've got unplaced text here. Kim uses text on a path a lot. Excellent. But Renee hardly ever uses it. Text on an ellipse I've used. I don't tend to put text on a path like this kind of path. I would put a circle in, or an ellipse like you're saying, and I would put text round that. On a path like this, not often. It reminds me of when I was learning Photoshop. It was Photoshop version 1. It was about 1993. And the holy grail at the time was, oh, want text on a path, want text on a path. And I remember thinking, why? You know, it would look a bit weird. It would look... I mean, the only time that text like that, as sharp as that, I mean, if you've got a very nice gentle curve, it would look great. But, you know, something like that. But something like this, the only time I looked at it and thought, wow, that looks well, was an advert for a local, we call them a pleasure beach, like theme park. And it was the roller coaster. And I thought, that's absolutely perfect. They'd got a picture of the roller coaster and they'd wrapped this path around it and then put the text on it. I thought that looks amazing. All the other options that you had there before are still there. So you can alter the baseline, move it down below. You can have it hanging off the path at the top. You can reverse it like this. All the other options are still there. But you've got this extra option that if you've got overhanging text, you can turn that off while you manipulate the rest of it, which is a nice addition. That is a nice addition. Okay, let's get rid of that. And head back in here. Madam's been taken outside. Right, linked images. We've not been able to do this before, but now we can. So if you were here for the publisher one, you'll instantly see very, very familiar. Just added it to designer. Right. You can, when you have a file. Oh, here we go again. Really is like whack-a-mole. And it makes the mouse pointer invisible, which it doesn't help. Right, let's go into there and do that. Okay. I can hear noises from downstairs. Right, what was I just saying about that? Good grief, woman. Let's get back in there. That's what I was saying about it. Right, linked images. Right, you have the ability in here, don't know if you are aware of this, you have studio stock, which I do think was already open. Hang on. Let's do studio stock again, and there it is. Right, this is where I got the pandas from. Bless them. They're adorable. Right, so when you use one of these images, you drag and drop it in, and it'll come in quite big. And I will do the magic down here to put that at 0 and 0 and about 500 pixels, and that should sort it out. There we go. When you do something like that, that is an embedded image. I do not want another artboard. That's embedded. So I actually had one where I'd already put in a few images. So place images. Here we go. No, it wasn't place images. It was, there we go. It was the panda one. So all I did was pick 4 of these. These are now embedded in the file. That's good news if you want to send this to somebody else to work with. But it's not quite so good if those images have come from somebody on your team and they're being updated constantly. So an example of that would be when I'm doing the artwork for the Munich Memorial, I could be editing images and changing those images in a file, and Mike could be trying to put text in. And if I do and he's got that, then it's a case of like, well, now I'll have to copy and paste all of the text because these are embedded. Now, how do we know that these are embedded? Well, we have in here the resource manager to tell us that they are embedded. And you have the ability now to do different things with them as well. So I think, I'm just going to go in and have a look at this. I think I'd done this as 3 separate things. Yeah, I was going to talk about the resource manager and something else. So I'll do the 2 together. I will do the 2 together. So these are embedded. If you don't want them embedded, if you want to give your image editor the ability to work on these files while you work on the Affinity Designer file, you can take all of these images and you can make them linked. Good night, Renee. So if I click Make Linked, it offers me a folder. So if I go in here and create a folder and just say Linked Images for Panda Poster, they are then in there. I type linked, and these are now all linked. So the placement is linked. That will have a couple of knock-on effects, obviously. This file itself will be smaller because those files are only linked to and not embedded. The other option that you will have is that you could edit one of these images outside of Affinity Designer and they would update because they are linked images. So that's one way to work with them. The other thing that you can do in the resource manager, if you're thinking, I mean, imagine that you've got a multi-page document. Probably that's going to be with Publisher. But if you particularly had an image and you wanted to know where it was in the file, you can locate and it will actually select it for you in the file. It also tells you what page it's on and it tells you the status. Now, what's the status? Well, we've put these images in a folder. These are the images. And you can see the size of them. Right? Now, I actually thought that one had a bit of a colour cast on it. I thought it was a bit greeny. It needed to be a little bit cooler than that image. I think that's a bit warm by comparison to the other ones. But let's say what I do with that is actually move it and put it in my After Hours folder. Right, when we go back into here, right, it tells you that that's been changed and it tells you straight away that that file is missing. It knows straight away that it's missing. Right, it would allow you to replace it and it would allow you to locate it in the document. Even though it's missing, it's still locatable in the document. But what you've now got is kind of a low resolution version of it because the actual file itself is missing. So you could replace it or you could go find it. You could put it back where it belonged. If you put it back where it belongs, as soon as you do that, it will go in there and tell you it's linked and it's there. Okay, so we've managed to link the documents. You could, if you then decided that you were doing something. Now, Tracy's saying, Well, actually, the question is, don't forget, this is Charles, don't forget to embed them if you're sending them for printing. Happened to you once. And Tracy's saying that's where the packaging feature comes in. Depends. Yes, the packaging would solve that problem in terms of the images would go with it, but they still wouldn't be embedded. So it depends then on your printer. If your print service supports Affinity Designer, fantastic. Most of them do not. So you could send them a package file and they're still none the wiser in terms of printing it. If you're sending it for print, to be honest, the best way is to create a print-ready PDF and be done with it. They like print-ready PDFs. I had a conversation with the printer that we use. And it was like, yeah, that'll be fine. Everything's on the website. And everything on the website was for InDesign. Absolutely everything was for InDesign. I'm sure they'll get there. I just don't know how long that will take. And I say that because there's absolutely no reason you could not use Affinity Designer right now to design interfaces for iOS apps and Mac apps. Apart from the fact that Apple do not provide assets for Affinity Designer. They don't consider that to be a big enough audience to do that with, to be bothered doing it. They do provide them for Sketch, and I would expect them to, but they also provide them for Adobe XD, which is not that old. It's not been about as long as Affinity Designer, and yet it seems to be ahead of Affinity Designer in terms of support from external services. So just something to think about. So we have located them in the document. You can update them, replace them. We've done an edit, so we had this as linked, and then you can embed them. So at the moment, if I want them back embedded, all I need to do is to click the Make Embedded. Then I can choose to collect them. Now, this is slightly different. Let's make them linked and then do a collect. And what it's going to do is it's going to choose a folder for them to be collected. So if I go up a level, we go into there and call this collection. Collection. Then it will collect them all together in there. So if they are at the moment in lots of different places, then you can collect them together into a single folder as well. Affinity definitely isn't considered industry standard at the moment. These companies that do provide print services, you have to consider that the hardware they've got is dedicated to Adobe. It's as simple as that. The actual printers themselves, they don't want to start a print run and be anything other than 1,000,000% sure it's actually going to come out and look like it should look. And it will take them quite a while to think, oh, Affinity Designer, we need to accommodate that. Because once you start doing that, then others will come along and say, what about me? What about me? Do I think Designer will get there and Publisher? Probably, but it could well take another 5 years or more. Just the way it goes. So that is your resource manager, where you can manage the resources within your file, which is completely new to this version. Right. The last thing I do believe we are looking at is package output. That was not what I needed to do, but never mind. Right, so package output. So we've got this file. Let's put some text in it that says pandas, because we love pandas here. Right, let's choose something like Myriad Pro. And that's no, not Myriad Pro, which I'm thinking of. Trajan Pro. Trajan Pro, there we go. Pandas. You're squeaking, Mike. Why are you squeaking? There we go. Let's put that over there on the red panda, like that. Right. So let's say at this point you are ready to send this to somebody else to work on, and you want to make sure that they've got everything that they need to work on this. If the files are embedded, great, but if they're not, then you need to do all the collection stuff and that. But Save as Package will solve your problem. So I'm going to Resource Manager, and these are all linked at the moment. Okay. What's the difference between collection and package? Collection, you are taking the stuff that's in there and putting it all together in a single folder. So you could have linked images from 5 different locations, 10 different locations. If you do the collection thing, it will automatically create copies of all those files in a single folder. So you've collected them together. But packaging them is a whole different thing. It's taking it a step further. So if we go in to save as package, we get exactly the same summary as in Publisher. So it's telling you there's one font in here. There's none missing and none restricted. There's 4 images and they're all linked. And you have an option to include in the package the fonts and the images. Now, fonts wouldn't have been collected in the collection process. That would have just been images and assets. When you go into fonts, it shows you which font you've included. And when you go into the images, these are the images that are linked to. So I will click OK and it will take me out. Now that's my collection folder, but I'm going back to my data folder and it needs a new folder. So I will say saved package and create the folder. And then you create the package by hitting the package button. And that's it. You've created it. So let's go back over here and I will bring this on so we can see it. So saved package. And this is what you've got. You have an AF package file. You have an images folder, which has collected together all of the images. And in the fonts, you have a copy of the font. Technically speaking, if your print production partner included support for Affinity, that is all you would actually need and they would be able to print it. But obviously, they're not supporting Affinity yet. But that is the idea. If you were sending this off to somebody else to work on, they would have everything they needed to work on it. Okay, so at that point, I need to go back over there. And are you ready with yours, Mike?
I need to press record.
Well, you press record while I do some magic beans. There's some magic beans. And Mike is going to talk about SUMPRODUCT.
Windows will restart and install the update in 4 minutes.
Can you tell it not to?
I think I'll say another time. Sounds like my mother. She texts me and says, Windows says there's an update, what shall I do?
On pain of death, don't do anything. Right, you ready to go?
Right,
then?
I'm ready to go.
Okay, in that case, there's Mike's screen. I will hand you over to Mike.
Thank you. Okay, SUMPRODUCT. SUMPRODUCT is an Excel function. And I will explain what it does in this session. Basically, what it does is it multiplies together not I was going to say 2 ranges of cells, but you can have more than 2 ranges of cells, and then it returns the sum of the products, and that's why it's called SUMPRODUCT. But it's best served with a demo rather than me trying to explain the concept.
I thought you were going to say it's best served with chips then.
Best served cold.
No, chips aren't best served cold.
No. Chips are best served covered with cheese, in my opinion.
Ooh, nice.
Cheesy
mayonnaise.
Chips. Yeah, anyway. Right, so what I've got here is I've got a list of courses. I've got the number of attendees on each course, and I've got the price per attendee. So what you would usually do to work out the total revenue, because what we're actually after is the total revenue, is you would calculate the revenues on the individual courses, which I've done, down at column D, and then you go to say I1 and you would add up all the revenues. That's not rocket science, that's pretty basic Excel. So that gives us the total revenue. Now, let's imagine that we didn't have column D. I'm not going to delete it because I might want to use it in one of my other demos. But, imagine that we hadn't calculated the individual revenues. You're probably thinking, well, in that case, how could we get the total revenue? The only way to do it is to calculate the individual revenues and then add them up. But actually, there is another way to do it. And the other way to do it is to use the SUMPRODUCT function. So we put equals SUMPRODUCT, and you specify multiple arrays. An array is just a block of cells. Now, if you know anything about array functions in Excel, the original array functions, not the dynamic array functions that I did a while back, but the original array functions, you entered them with Control-Shift-Enter, and it put curly brackets around them. Although this is an array function, it doesn't require the Control-Shift-Enter. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify B2 to B27. Then I'm going to put a comma, and then I'm going to put C2 to C27. So I'm keeping this simple. I'm just doing 2 arrays, but you can have more than 2 arrays. Close the brackets and enter. And what that does is it gives us the total. So it's exactly the same total as before. It's the same total as if we'd added up those numbers there. You can actually see at the bottom of the screen those cells being selected. The total is 15,540, and so is that. Now you might say, well, in that particular case, why didn't we just do the sum function? We all know the sum function, it's easy to do. The reason I didn't do the sum function is because I didn't actually want to generate 20 odd formulas, because the more formulas you have in your spreadsheet, it can slow Excel down. In this case, you probably wouldn't have seen a degradation of performance in Excel, because you're talking about 20 formulas and you're talking about very simple formulas. But you scale that up to more complex formulas and 20,000 of them, and that could have a knock-on effect on performance. So instead of having a whole bunch of formulas there and then a formula here to total them up, pretend, as I say, column D doesn't exist, and we have a SUMPRODUCT function which multiplies together each individual pair, as it were. So by specifying 2 ranges, what you're basically doing is say multiply that by that, multiply that by that, multiply that by that, and so on, and then add up the totals. That's what it's doing, is it's multiplying each pair and then adding up the totals, which is in effect what's happening here. But it's just saving you doing all of those formulas. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the comma with a multiplication sign. And I'm going to explain why I've done that shortly. So it does work, it does come out as exactly the same result, but why have I put a multiplication sign instead of a comma? And can you use either? The answer is yes, you can use either. Which is preferred? It's up to you, but let me show you why most people prefer to use the asterisk rather than the comma. I'm going to show you a simple example first, which doesn't really illustrate that point, but I don't want to dive right into something that's complex without sort of explaining the basic bit first. So I'm just seeing if there's any questions. No, I don't see any. Okay, so let's say I want to know how many people attended the pivot tables getting started training. Okay, how many people attended that? One way to do it is to, I'm just checking something here. I thought I'd missed something out, but I haven't. One way to do it is to do a SUMIF function. Okay, so I want to know how many people attended the pivot tables getting started. To do that, I can use the SUMIF function. So let's go over here and put equals SUMIF, open brackets, and I'm going to put A2 to A27, comma. Then I'm going to put the range I want it to look at, which is H2, or I could use H3, it doesn't matter in this case, because they're both the same. And then I'm going to put D2 to D27. So that is nothing to do with SUMPRODUCT. That's just a SUMIF function. I'm sure we've covered those before, but basically the SUMIF function says, look at this range here, so column A, look at the criteria in H2, and add up the numbers in column D, but only the ones that match the criteria. Or to put it another way, add up the numbers in column D where column A says pivot tables getting started. That's what the SUMIF function does. And it gives us the number of people. That's not the number of people, sorry, my mistake. It should have been the revenue. That should have been the revenue, not the number of people. So I'm going to cut that out and I'm going to paste that in the right cell there. That's better. Okay, so it's the revenue from pivot tables getting started. Now, the way I did that is I told it to add up those numbers, but only where the corresponding item, so it's looking at it on a row by row basis, the corresponding item in column A matches H2. But what if column D didn't exist? So if the revenue column doesn't exist, how can you add up the individual revenues to get the total revenue? Well, you can do it by using SUMPRODUCT. And as I said, I'll start with a simple example of SUMPRODUCT first. I need to know how many people attended the Pivot Tables Getting Started course. And I'm doing this one with attendees because if I'd just done it straight as an alternative for the revenue from pivot tables getting started, you end up with several arrays. And as I said, I don't want to dive straight in and do a complex one, so I'll do a simple one first. I need to know how many people attended the pivot table getting started courses. So what I could do there is I could use the SUMIF in this particular case. I can do SUMIF, open brackets, look at that range for the criteria, look at that for the actual criteria, and add up the number of attendees. And that gives us 39. So that will work. And a lot of people will do SUMIF. In this particular case, you don't even, you could use SUMIF as an alternative because we're not even referring to the revenue. So that is, that is a viable alternative. You don't need to use SUMPRODUCT, but this is a demo. So if I wanted to do the same thing with SUMPRODUCT, what I would do there is put equals SUMPRODUCT, and then I want the criteria. Now the criteria has to go in its own set of brackets. So we open brackets, we put A2 to A27 equals H3, then we put a comma, and then we put B2 to B27. I'll put 28 there, so let's change that to 27. It wouldn't actually matter if I'd done 28 because it's a blank cell. So what we're doing there with the SUMPRODUCT is we're still specifying two arrays, but that one is the criteria and that one is the numbers. And we get a 0. If I change the comma to an asterisk, then it works. So the comma didn't work, the asterisk does work. So why does the asterisk work but the comma doesn't? Well, let me show you. Let me highlight A2 to A27 and press function key F9. Now this might be new to some of you, but if you highlight part of a formula, you can do this with any formula in Excel, any formula at all. Highlight part of the formula in the formula bar and press function key F9. And what it will do, let's try that again. Is it that bit there? That's better. I need to highlight the whole lot. Highlight that and press F9. And what it does is it shows you the individual results. Now, whenever you have a logical formula, so something equals something, something is less than something, something is greater than something, it always results in true or false. So what it's doing is it's actually going through the 20 odd items here, and it's saying, is that true or is that false? So in other words, what we're doing is we're looking to see which one of these equals H3, which is pivot tables getting started. I'll just press F9 again. So is the first one true? No. Is the second one true? Yes. Is the third one true? Yes. Is the fourth one true? No. And so on and so on. So that's what those true and falses are doing. They are evaluating that formula and returning for each one of the items in column A the result being true or false. And the way that true or false works in Excel is that true evaluates to 1 and false evaluates to 0. So, to put it another way, 5 times 0 is 0, 9 times 1 is 9, 10 times 1 is 10, 4 times 0 is 0, 3 times 0 is 0, 6 times 1 is 6, and so on. So behind the scenes, it is actually doing a normal sum product by multiplying each one of those by 1 or 0. And the 1 or 0 is dependent on whether each one of those is equal to pivot tables getting started. If you use the comma, it's not doing any multiplication. If you use the asterisk, it is. So what you could do is you could say in your mind, well, I'll use the comma in these instances, I'll use the asterisk in these instances, but rather than having to remember multiple ways of doing it, stick with the comma. Sorry, stick with the asterisk. So the asterisk works every time. The comma doesn't, but the asterisk does. So let's just see if there's any questions. No? People still talking about fonts. Obviously, your demo made more of an impact than SUMPRODUCT.
Oh, everybody loves Excel, you know they do.
Okay, so let me now show you in right, in this one here. I want to calculate how many people, again, I'm going to delete this one because this one was the number of, no, hang on, this is the one I want to do. I want to do an alternative way of showing how to generate the total revenue for people who'd attended the Pivot Tables Getting Started training. So I've done that formula using a SUMIF. Now I want to show you how to do it using SUMPRODUCT. So to do it with SUMPRODUCT, I'll do equals SUMPRODUCT, and then it will be A2 to A27 equals H2. So that will calculate which ones I want it to look at. I only want it to look at the ones where the course title is Pivot Tables Getting Started. Then I will put multiplied by the attendees array. Then I will put multiplied by the price array. So there I'm using 3 arrays, and that gives us exactly the same value. Okay, so that is the SUMPRODUCT, and I hope you found that useful. Are we ready to switch back to you?
Yep, give me a second.
Okay. I will see if there's any questions. Peter says they're too engrossed to type. I'll let you off then, Peter.
Right, let me get this live.
Okay.
Okay. Right, let's switch back to me. Oh, hang on. What have I done there? I think I nearly put the score up.
Really? Preempting it.
Shh. Young Jonathan's asleep. Leave him be.
I think young Jonathan is asleep.
I think he has. I think he's gone.
Yes.
Right. Good grief, 7.5 hours, and Carbon Copy Cloner is still copying. How much data's on this, Kim? It could well be that the drive has bad sectors on it. Put a fan next to the computer and keep it cool. That might help it go a little bit faster. Do you remember that day I put one in the freezer?
I do.
It wasn't mine, I hasten to add. Mine was backed up. It was somebody who gave me this hard drive and it wasn't backed up and it had all the finances on that were due to go to the tax man. So I said to Mike, it's gone. It's dead. I said, the only thing I can do is put it in the freezer. So it went into a Ziploc bag with the air sucked out of it through a straw because you can't have it getting damp. And then it went into the freezer. Once it'd been in the freezer for 44 minutes precisely, it was dragged out of the freezer. Mike ran up the stairs with it. I got it on the desk. And then there's fans on it. And it was sat on an ice block. And by some miracle, because it was dead, I managed to get this financial information off. It really shouldn't be taking that long, but it's probably got bad sectors on it and it's struggling. But the drive isn't dead yet. Normally, if it's struggling to that degree, you may have a couple of days grace, but it depends on the temperature and things. I once had about 8 hours on a drive and I thought, oh, it's actually behaving itself now. And then it totally died from under me. As they do. But there you go. Fingers crossed. Keep it going. At least it's moving. Right. I've had a dabble in Notion. The demo account looks okay. So we'll start. And if it dies from under us, if Notion just disappears, we will soldier on next week. But this was one of the most requested parts of Notion 2021. We've done days and weeks and months and quarters and years, and we've done tasks, but no, it was learning management system. So I've split it into two. We need the underlying table structure this week, but we're going to take it way further than that. So normally we build the structure, we build a dashboard, and that's it. But given that what I've seen, I've had lots of people sending me screenshots and stuff, and I want to do this, or how can I do this better? So we're definitely going to address this, take it to fully complete. Fully complete. Okay, so learning management system. Hang on, why is nothing moving? Where we go. Right, what exactly are we talking about? Now, it could be courses, it could be an article, it could be a book, it could be a YouTube video. A learning management system needs to handle all of it. Normally, the term learning management system is reserved for systems like Moodle. Who's heard of Moodle?
I have.
We had a Moodle, didn't we?
We did have a Moodle.
Yeah, it was. No, we didn't like it. It was too structured. But a learning management system, there are custom ones. There are ones that you may have heard of, like Moodle. They are a system that you would log into, and normally it would be somebody who is providing an online course, and you take the online course inside the learning management system. What we're talking about here is your own personal learning management system, so you have access to everything in one place. So mine's a bit of a mess at the moment because I haven't been able to get into Notion. That was why I wanted to build one today, so you could actually see the finished article at the beginning. But Notion had other ideas, so it's all going to be a surprise. I cannot show you what I couldn't build because Notion was down. That's such a fabulous advertisement, isn't it, for Notion? Maybe they could not do that. But in essence, what I'm intending to build will provide you somewhere to track an entire course or a multi-part thing that's over multiple videos, YouTube videos, written stuff. It should encompass 99.9% of what you would encounter in your learning journey. Right, how I intend to do that. We are going to need a table or more than one table. I've done it with a single table. I've kept it relatively simple. When I built mine at the beginning, it was just keep it simple. Do not overcomplicate this, woman. So I put it in one table and I thought to myself, I will build from that point should I need to add anything else to it. You will need some kind of management system with it, because as you throw things into this table, you never want to be looking at that table or database or whatever you want to call it. You don't want to be seeing it. So you will need some kind of management system for it. The thing you will interact with on a daily basis with it is your dashboards. And I would suspect you would have more than one dashboard. I foresee the dashboards as being like a waterfall of dashboards. You would have a top level one that was everything. It would be books, articles, videos, the whole thing. And then as you drill down, if you want to look at the books, then you could look at the books. If you wanted to look at articles, you could look at articles. More likely, you're going to want to access all the content you have for a particular topic. So maybe you don't want to look at it in terms of, I did that Affinity Designer course and there it is. You might want to look at everything that's Affinity Designer. I would still build that with one table. The extra tables that we will build will come probably next week, and we won't be building them at the same level as the core table. They will be a cascade of tables as well. And we will access all of that via a collection of dashboards. Then there's the integrations. Now, one of my integrations that I use this for, I would have an integration between everything in my LMS and my journal. So if I'm looking at my journal, I would have a section in it that pulled in what I'd done that day, and I wouldn't have to touch it. It would happen automatically. By me putting a date on something via a dashboard in my LMS, it would automatically update my journal. I prefer it that way. You might not need that. But whatever integrations you think relevant, if you think of one, then let me know. I will show you what integrations I build into it. Right, let's head off and have a look at it then. Okay. I'm in Opera at the minute because when we start this, we're going to need to do something for a particular reason. So, all I've got open here, this is I think is where we left the wiki, wasn't it? We left the wiki at that point. Right, I need here to have somewhere a repository for things that I throw into it, be it an article or anything else. So for instance, let's say we were going to my blog and we found an article like the DEVONthink series, or something that we wanted as an article. So that's an article. Right, some of them are a little bit more than that. That one is. And I think that one's got a video on it. Don't know what it would make of that. That would be very interesting. We'll find out. So basically, lots of different content that you would want to pull in. So back at this end, I would normally start with a page. And I could do that, but I'm going to do it a different way because this is really the very, very first thing you would need to do. I could create a table manually and then tell Notion that this table was a special table. It was my links table. But it's better done the other way round because you are going to want certain things populated automatically. And the way to do that is to actually capture something into it. So say like this article that I've got here. Right, I have installed in here the Notion Clipper. So if I click the Clipper, we are going to need multiple ways to get things into our LMS, preferably automatically, because otherwise it's going to be you going in and saying new, 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 and then having to put manually links in and all kinds of stuff. So what I've done here is this is the standard Notion Clipper, right? I'm going to take that off the end so I've got a nice title. And I have a couple of options straight away. I could either just save this page, but I could also create a new links database. So in here, I may have some databases already, but I could create a new links database. So that's what I'm going to do. And then just save it. And then open it in Notion. Right. It's called it My Links, and it's put it on the left-hand side here underneath. So it's the bottom page, and it's pulled it in. The reason that I have done that is now I've got a database that every time I clip something to it, it will automatically add when it was created, and it will automatically store the URL. That's not enough. I want more than that. But at a basic level, this database was created automatically by Notion, and it will know what these 3 properties need to be used for. I can add more, but by doing it this way, I don't have to try and tell Notion, oh, put the URL in there. No, not that URL, this field. Because sometimes if you clip to a database and you've got a field called URL, you might not get the URL in it. By doing it this way, where the database is automatically created when you clip something, you know the format is absolutely accurate, and you know that you will get the 2 pieces of information that you need when it was created and what the URL was. But it's put it at the top level and it's called it My Links, which is not fabulous, is it? So we've got a couple of options with what we can do with that. We're looking at an individual page at this point. But if I go up a level, we're looking at the database. So if we go back in, and this time we'll clip this from YouTube. So I'll clip to Notion again. And this time it's saying add to a new links database. That's not really what we want. No, you don't have to use Opera for that. I'm using Opera purely because I'm logged in Vivaldi and all sorts, and it's misbehaving today. So I decided for a clean start, so I can clear the cache on Opera, I will just use Opera for this. But no, it will work on anything. The fact it's in Opera, ignore it. Doesn't matter. Right, what I'm going to do with this one is I am going to refresh the page. And I'm refreshing the page just to make sure that it knows that there's a new database there. It's saying skip ad, but I'm not seeing an ad. One, I'm not logged in. Otherwise, I won't be seeing any ads at all. But I'm not seeing ads because Opera's got an ad blocker in it. So there we go. But what I want to do is to clip it by clicking on the Notion thing. And now I've refreshed it, it knows there's a My Links database, and the odds are might want to put it there. Okay. So click there like that, and then save it to My Links. You could open that in Notion, but we've already got that open. So when we go in here, it's straight there. Now, if you are going to try and dedicate a browser to Notion, which I do, then as Paul points out, anything that will use the Chrome extension. Now, Opera will use a Chrome extension, but it's a bit meta. You have to add an extension that lets it install extensions from Chrome. But it works. You're seeing here that it's working. Right, so the first one was our boot disk. There we go, that's the last thing we clipped. So it's pulled the video in. It's got the date, it's got the URL. So we are good to go. We have a working database here. But it is at this point not in an LMS of any description. So let's sort that out. So in here, I would create a page at the top level that is our LMS. And you've got, does Safari have that extension? I don't believe Safari does support. Oh, hang on, it does on Biggles, doesn't it? But you're not on, are you on Biggles? I do believe the latest version on Biggles does support Chrome extensions, but Paul is the man on that, as he has been foolhardy enough to install it, and I'm running away screaming. So I believe it's either there on Biggles or it's coming. But no, it's really a Chrome extension or a Firefox extension. And it works on many, many other browsers that support Chrome extensions. Firefox doesn't share its extensions with anything. Right, okay, so I've got the LMS page. That's at this level over here. Now, at this level, next week, we want to be able to open this and see what we're working on right now. So this isn't some dumping ground or whatever. This is something that we're going to build up over time, and it will have exactly what you need, what you're working on. So this is going to be the very, very top level dashboard. For the moment, this week, we just need to make sure that everything is working fine to get on with it. So I'm going to close down this My Links and anything else that we've done. So we've captured that and we did that one as well. So what I'm going to do is My Links here, I'm going to put inside the LMS. So all I've done is drag this database inside the page that is the learning management system. And I'm going to make sure here that that is full width. And it being called My Links is ludicrous. What I call it is I put the word links at the beginning and then LMS or whatever you want to call it at the end. And the reason that I put links at the beginning is when I'm using the clipper, if I need to search for the database that I want, see, this is still saying My Links, whereas we've renamed it already. When I'm looking for it, when I go into here to search for it, all I need to do is type links and I get all of the clipped databases. All the databases I put clippings in are automatically there by me putting links on it. Right, I also want a different icon. So we want this to be probably a mortarboard. Right. Oh, the other thing I do is, right, that would be the LMS, but what I would probably do here is actually put a link like that, and I would know that that was my links, and my LMS at this level, I would put that as a mortarboard. So I know that this is my links table within there, and there's my links. Right, at that point, you need to start extending the table. At the moment, this is just a links table and there's no other intelligence in it. Oh, Sarah's struggling with Vivaldi. Need to spend more time with Vivaldi. Is fabulous. Ah, I love Vivaldi. It is very, very configurable and you could get lost in that. I want to do this and I want to do that. Just start simple with it. I use Vivaldi because it gives me sidebars that I can use for WhatsApp or chat windows. I can play music in it and close the window and it still plays. It's fabulous. Love it. I'm only using this one tonight because I've had such a day with Notion. Okay, so what we've got here is it's simply a list view, nothing else fabulous there at all that we need to deal with. But what we do need to do is start adding extra information in. So if we look at this and we open that as a page, right, we need to add some extra properties in. We do not have enough properties there. We do have the URL. I personally would move the created to the bottom. I would probably hide the created because although I like it to be there, I don't particularly want it bombarding me on a daily basis either. But that's what we've got there. We do have that. Right, I want to add some properties. So one of the things I add is what's the content type. And the reason that I do this, I would have this as a select. The reason that I put the content type is if I want a view that is all the YouTube videos I've ever watched or all the articles I've ever read, then I need to be able to filter that. So the content type for this one would be YouTube. And green isn't good for that when YouTube's red, is it? So let's change that to red. The other type of thing that you would have, so if we go back up to a level, we've got this one. And this one is a blog post, which I would call an article. So as I put article in, I've now got two different types. So I've got enough information there to separate these out if I need to. Right, we already have the URL. The URL is very important. For me, I'd probably put the URL at the top. Then I put a delivery date. Now, sometimes, if it's a YouTube video, you would know the delivery date. So I would go in and choose a date. I would format that properly, but let's not waste time. That would have had a delivery date. So, and I've just closed it, haven't I? That wasn't clever. Let's get the delivery date for that one. That one there it was. 29th of November 2019. How is it that long ago? 29th of November 2019. There we go. How did I manage that on a Friday with after hours? No idea. Right, so I've got the delivery date in. I always put 2 extra dates. This is just me. Your mileage may vary. I put in a review date. And again, that is a date. And I put in a reminder date. Now, how I use those, a review date is something that maybe I have thought that's worth reading. And then I never see it again. Ever. So by putting a review date on it, it's much more likely to surface. A reminder date is relevant when it's something that I have clipped for a particular reason and I would like to read that before a certain date. Not just review it, you know, he's still interested in this. And sometimes I think, no, I'm not, and I delete it. A reminder date is you need to read this before X date to do whatever it is you need to do. Good morning, Paul. So I have 3 dates in there, and they all go together at the top. The other thing I find particularly useful, there's probably a couple of ways of doing this, but I do it this way. I just put a summary in it that's text. And some of my summaries, I would not like them to see the light of day. Sometimes it's like, oh, this was terrible, but... So there may be a YouTube video that's got like one thing in it that's relevant, but actually the delivery was shocking, or the audio was really low. So it's kind of a summary just for me, to know whether that is something that I would rate highly or not so highly. But you can put a rating in here if you wanted. You could do it that way. I just put a summary in there. I also have in here a status, which makes sense to me. I want to know where I'm up to with it. And again, I would have that in a select. And it would probably be below the summary. What else do I put in there? I do use the tags. That's really pretty much a catch-all. Because at the moment, we've not got a topic, have we? That could go in the tags. You could put topics in there. If you're only interested in 3 topics, then by all means, put that in there. But me, I just have a long list of tags. By putting them all in that field as well, I can filter precisely for what I'm looking for. The other thing I put in on everything, and future you will thank you if you do, is a cover. And that is files and media. And it actually does put a cover in there. So when you change your view, because the best view you can work with is a gallery view. It looks amazing. And you are tempted into, oh, I think I'll read that or catch up on that because it looks good. That, I think, is all I've got at the moment in mine. So I would put the cover at the bottom, then hide that property, and we're good to go with that. Now, if we go back to the other item, which is the Catalina boot disk, right? Similar principle on here. So let's say the status on that is not started. That's what I would do with it. And then I would put the next one, which is in progress. Progress. And complete. So very simple, similar to everything that we've done before. Right, now this also has a delivery date and a review date and a reminder date and everything else as well. Right, once you've got the date up there, you can open that, and that was the 19th of June 2020. Again, how did I manage this? So delivery date 19th of June 2020. It was a Friday again. This is bizarre. Now, I don't particularly need to review this or whatever, but if you did, then you could put that review date in there. But what is very cool is at the moment, let's go into our system and let's create a view and let's make a gallery view. Right, I'm not going to do any filtering or anything at this stage. It's literally this. We're at the very, very, very basics. Now, you'll notice that this one has got an image, but where is that image coming from? We look at it there, it's the content, all right? I don't particularly want it from the content. It would be very nice to have it from the content if everything had an image at the top of the content. But we created a cover field. So what I would like to do is in my properties in here, I would like to say that the card preview uses the cover field that I've added. The other options are not to have any. In the page cover, it's talking about the bit at the top that you can actually define something, or the actual content. But I've got a field for it, so I want to say the cover. Now, at the moment, there's nothing there, but we need to be clever with this. One thing I do is I pick a size, so mine are 1280 by 720, and I will make a thumbnail. Or, I mean, it isn't a thumbnail, it's 1280 by 720, but it will display as a thumbnail. Now, if it's YouTube, like this one, then you can do some magic beans. If you've already done magic beans, you can do more magic beans. What does that look like? That looks like this. So I go to Alfred and I'm looking for YouTube thumbnail for that video. And what happens is in my default browser, it comes up. I take that out of there and then I drag it from Drop Shelf, which is this app down here, into my cover field, and I am done. So when I go back to this level, once it's loaded in, which it was thinking about doing, there, once I go back to this, that one comes in. So you don't particularly see it other than in the gallery view. What I could do with that one, you know, this image is here. It's already in there. So what I could do with that is download it. Right, there's my download. So if I click on that, it will open it in another window, and I can find my cover here, drag and drop the image that it's downloaded into cover, and it shouldn't take that long to upload. It's 88K. There we go. And it's now got an image on it. So I use this for individual YouTube videos, individual articles, but also full courses. And I mean full courses. I'm talking like, was the one I did last autumn. It was 6 weeks and it was about 40 hours a week. So it doesn't make a difference to me whether it's one YouTube video, one blog post, or an entire course. So let's say we add something here with big course, and we'll fill that in next week. All right? But literally, that is how I do it. That is at the same level as one article or one video. It will make more sense as we pull it together. But basically, everything starts with one entry in here. We will create magic with that later. Right, where's that page gone that I just had open? It must have been Firefox. That's right, there we go. All right, because I was looking at something. Tech problems, Paul, tell me about it. It's been that kind of day. But we have beaten them into submission and we have got this far. So we will endeavour to carry on. So at this point, all you've actually got is the core table. But this is when you can start building on it. So I would love to take some of the stuff out of mine and put it in here. But we'll grab a couple more videos, should we? Shall we get... or will that work? Ooh, I don't know, because I'm not logged in, am I? You see, if I picked something like this, it was an extravaganza, it was over 2 hours. I need something of mine that was fairly short. There's not much of mine that's fairly short, is there? Hang on. Where's me? Come on. There must be some short videos in here somewhere. You could always get the other than the Catalina one, couldn't I? Oh, that was a short one. Was that the George Clooney one? Oh, that was fabulous. Right, so I've got a short video. Okay. Right, so first thing I'm going to do is take that and I'm going to hit that Notion one again. Because it's a new page and it's opened up, it's found the links LMS. It's not got the right icon on it, but I'm hoping it's the right place. I'll take YouTube off the end and then save that page. Oh, these are all of my demos. Right, so back in our LMS, here we go. There it is. I then need to do the magic beans again. While we do that, that gives us a poster and put the poster in. There we go. Again, I do take the time and I do fill this information out. You don't really need to. One of the things we're going to need to think about and build probably next week, although could we do a short one now? I think we probably could. Right, is what's below the fold. Now, when I say below the fold, this bit here, let me get that up and that. Why you yellow this week? Right, that bit there is what we say is above the fold. That is the metadata that relates to what is below the fold. So below the fold, which is going to be down, that's below the fold with the video. You also have kind of between the fold as well, helpfully, which is there is an opportunity to chat. But obviously, if it's your account and you're probably not going to be talking to yourself, you could lose that. But below the fold here, we have the video. Above the fold, we have the meta. Now, you may want to put some information in about this particular video that you don't particularly consider belongs above the fold, or you haven't built something above the fold to handle it, in which case it could go below the fold. You will also have in here different types of information. So if you were watching this video, you might want to make some notes and they could go underneath. Depending on how you organise yourself, it may be a good idea to build some templates. So let me show you what that looks like. Up here, you have a new button, and when you click the down-facing arrow, it gives you the opportunity to make a template. Now, would this be relevant or not? Well, the thing is, if you're clipping from outside using the clipper, it's going to use the default one and it's going to put the content of the video or the article below the fold. So if we look at this, we've got the image, but we also have all of the text below the fold. And it's come in the paragraphs, it's got the headings in it, it's got the links in it. It is just like reading it online, only it's in your system. So if you were looking at this and you thought, oh, that checklist there, awesome, I want that checklist. And you may then want to add some highlights to it like that. Then that is, you couldn't really do that on the article on the website. That's why you're capturing it to your LMS, so you can add your own value to it or add your comments to it. So let's say something like that. What you could do there is you can actually add a comment to an individual part. So you could say there something like, I need to do this. And that will then add that there, and you can go back and think, oh yeah, that's what I needed to do about it. I've remembered now. So I need to do that for all of my apps. That's why you're capturing it. So it's in your system in the way that makes most sense to you, and you can work with it and get value from it. Now, sometimes it could be a course. So big course up here. It doesn't really make sense with big course down here to have nothing. There's nothing there to start with. What might I want down there? Well, I might want meta information about the course. For a start, we do have a URL at the top. But if we wanted extra URLs, we could start putting in there course URLs or course links. Hello? What have you done with Daddy? We lost him. Yes, she's left Daddy out in the garden. Bless her. So I could put some course links in there like that. What else might I want to do? Well, if it's a course and it's going on for 3 or 4 weeks, you may have contact details for those running the course. So I could put that in. So course leader. And then be expected to put some names in here. May also have a contact person. Sometimes you have a course director. She came in and asked what she'd done with you, and she totally ignored me. It's like, I've left him in the garden, he's fine. What's she done?
She's been doing a business.
Oh, right. Good girl. Okay. Oh, where else do you get this kind of entertainment while you're learning? That's all I can say. Right, so course leader, course director. And then you may want the actual course, so course materials. You might have a course outline. So thinking through what you might have. So I would imagine a syllabus you would probably have. So put that detail in there as well. Eventually, when you get down here, you're going to get to a point where you've got course content. And that is going to go in here. Now, Sarah talked about having a course where there was hours and hours worth of content. So this is what I would consider semi-metadata. It's not metadata that lives up here, but it's certainly relevant to everything in this course. So let's say in the course content there's video. There could be PDF handouts. There could be anything. We will deal with that. All right, but first I'm just going through what we've actually got here. Right, do we need to add anything else? I think we can probably get away with that. At this point, I would build in here a table to handle the course content. So I would put in a table, an inline table, right? So course content, but it's for this course. So let's say we could do a DEVONthink course, DEVONthink course content, but you know what I'm like. That is the course table. It's the master one. Do not, on pain of death, edit it. So, before I do anything, I would put in master table. And in fact, it could be more than one. Right, and that would go in there, out of the way, and that would be marked as red. Do not, on pain of death, touch it. The reason being, if you want to pull through to your weekly dashboard, your daily dashboard, an overview of where you're up to with the course, you can duplicate it if it's a linked table, but you can't if it's a master table. Do you remember that nightmare we had when we very first started using it? We duplicated a table. It did not end well because it was linked to other tables. Don't do that. Leave that master table out of the way. But here we can create a linked database. And we are looking for our DEVONthink course. There we go. And that will pull in exactly the same information. It looks identical. Right, can you import the course details? You have 4 main areas, each have sub-areas and then content, total of 364 topics. Yes, you can. Do you have like some kind of outline that I could see and then I could work out how best to do it? What format have you got it in and stuff? It's written in Excel. Trying to put together a timeline for creating. Don't be grumbly, Lola. Yes, if it's in Excel, yes, there'll be some way of doing it. I'll manually create like 3 units of content here. So the unit of content would have a name. So let's say introduction. All right, and that, now I've only got 2 fields here. I've got the name and the tags. I'm going to open this up so we can see it all, because this is super duper big course, isn't it? In fact, before I do that, I'm going to do this. Right, at that point, I have here, if I call that course content, you'll see that both of these change. And that's my master table. Before I put anything in it, most courses tend to have like modules or units, sections, whatever it's called, however you want to work with it, build those into this table. And again, you don't have to touch the master table. So I'm making this full width, so I've got a little bit more room. So let's say we want to put in the section. Now we've got a couple of ways of doing that, but let's make it a drop down. And we may then have a reference that is a unit of content or a video, right? That can quite happily be text. Right. In fact, you might not need that if you're going to use the name. Let's have a ponder. You might, so let's leave it be. Let's leave it like that. So, I'm not going to go crazy at this point with this by putting in loads of stuff. I will, the thing I couldn't do today because Notion wasn't playing ball, I will build in the week so I can show you. But what I'm doing here is showing you that we're building up below the fold, but in a generic way. So what we've got there is actually totally generic. that would work for any course that had sections and units within it, or a module, or a video, whatever you want to call it. It could have sections, modules and videos. It could have anything. Whatever it's got, you build that up at this level. If you then want in here other views, and this will happen as you start working, then you would need to write them back to the template. But in essence, what we've got is enough to get us going. So all of this content here is relevant not just to this big course, it's relevant to any course that we choose to put in here. So I would cut that and create a template. And it says you're editing a template. I am indeed. This one I want to use for courses. So below the fold here, I would put in what I've just cut out of there. And there we go. So it's sticking it in. Once it's all in there, that's it. I now have a template. So big course over here. What I would now do is at the bottom, instead of using an empty template, I could use a courses template. And that would then populate below the fold. And that's going to save me a ton of time. And then I fill in the individual pieces of information for that particular course. So Paul says, are you going to make this a template? If so, it will create new tables every time you use the template. It will, and that's what we want to do. Because the master level is this level. It doesn't matter if it's a big course or not. Everything to do with big course needs to be in a single table for big course. Why would you mix stuff from one course with another when the big course might be in modules, sections and videos, and the next course you attend is just in videos? And then you've got fields that don't map to it. So each one of these elements in here, these are the top level. And as you drill down, depending on it being a course or a YouTube video, because if you think about what you've got there, that's not going to work for a YouTube video. You don't need all of that for a YouTube video. You need something different. Sarah says, would I be able to send you the spreadsheet so you see what Absolutely. Send it away, Sarah. Absolutely. So this one is for courses, but I would maybe have one for YouTube videos. I would maybe have one for articles. If you think about an article, so let's go back to this level. And at this point, I've got courses. So I'm going to make a new template. And this one would be article. Now, if I could spell article, there we go. This one would be very, very different below here. We'd have a link to the article at the top, but we might want to put down here like an executive summary and have that there, put some text in there. We might want to have authors, because we've got nowhere else to put the authors, so we might put that in there. You might not with this need a database, but with the other one you might. So yes, Paul, it's on two totally different levels. Because of how I was going to do it, I wasn't going to get into this week, but obviously I need to get into this week because I can't show you what I didn't build because Notion was down. But yes, you are creating below the top level exactly what you need for each individual type of article. So I would be putting authors in there. You may have the text of the article. So you could just put article text and maybe you've got the whole lot. You could do that. And of course, all of this you could hide if need be as well. Or just delete because it's only a starting point. So this one is for an article and you've got the link there, you've got the dates, but whatever is to do with the article would be below the fold. What else may we have there? I personally wouldn't separate blog posts, but you could if you wanted to. Courses is a big one. Maybe something like a summit, which would be slightly different than courses. So when you attend a summit, it's usually over multiple days. So you may need to think about the delivery date in there. Actually having, if you go into the format of the date, do you need an end date if you're going to have things for a summit? In which case you might want to put that in a different way. Courses may have a start date and an end date, but something like a blog post probably wouldn't. And you have to set this globally if you're going to have all the different types at the very top level. But just things to think about. This could look very, very different in your case. Below the fold would probably have on this, you know, day 1, day 2. I might even put that in different databases or have a different view of a database. So I will put there, show database, filtered, each day. I will build that and I will show you that next week in a template. But in essence, you want to see everything from day 1 and everything from day 2. You may decide you want to see things by presenter. So you decide that you want to have a view under there that will show you who presented what or your favourite presenters. So the templates, you can spend months doing whatever you like with them. I'm trying to cover like a few scenarios. I will show you ones I've done where I've got a whole course in one of these. I've got summits that have gone on for 3 and 4 days. And each one is just one record at the top level, but below the fold, it's got all sorts going on with it, because that's the best way I've found to actually build it. So if I was going to a new summit, I would come in here and I would say summit, and now I'm doing it. So one of the ones I went on was the Teachable Summit. So I put the URL in, I put the delivery dates in, I did the review and all of this. I filled all of this in manually. So that one was in progress, and the content type. Now there isn't a content type for Summit, so I'll put one in. This one was to do with content creation. So I put that in as a tag. I would find a cover for it. The delivery date, I have no idea. I think it was November sometime. No, I think it was October. Let's just say it was the 14th of October. On that, I may decide to put a review date and think, you know, so you took the time and you did this. 2 months later, what's it look like? Alternatively, maybe there's an offer, and the offer is going to last for like 3 weeks, in which case I will go back to it. And if that was October, 1, 2, 3, I might want to think about it 2 weeks later. The difference being, I want to be reminded about that. Do I want to do anything about the offer that they gave? This one is just, I want to review it and see, can I add anything to it? Do I want to change anything? What's my next action on that? What do I want to do about it? I took the time and I did it. What now? But below the fold is very, very, very different depending on what it actually is. That's why when I saw some of the LMSs that people had built, they'd got like all their courses in one database, and the meta was at the top. Then they'd got one for articles. Then they'd got one for books. And I'm thinking, no, all of that should be together. I know it doesn't make sense initially. You think, no, I need like with like. And the benefit of like being with like is that over here, when you open this up in your LMS, I mean, we've only got the links at the moment, but when you open this up, you can see things like summits that I've attended, books that I've read. But you can do that in other ways. You can get the benefit of the sidebar in other ways and have all of your content in one database, which gives you one huge benefit. And that is, if we've got in here, let's add a couple of items. Let's say we've got Affinity Designer 1.9, new features. And we're not spelling it like that, are we? There we go. Right, so I've got that in there as an item. And then I've got another item, which is Affinity video of new features for 1.9. And that's something else. It's not the same video. It's 2 different videos. Now these are about Affinity Designer. If I'd put this, and in fact, let's say this one is an article. So let's say that's an article. Right, if I've got those in separate databases, I've got the video in one database and the article in another. How am I going to pull the 2 of them together and over here on the sidebar have Affinity Designer? And the answer is you're not. How do you do it in here? Really simple. In the tags, if that's how you choose to do it. So I haven't added a topic tag. I put in Affinity Designer, and then I go to the second thing, which was totally different. It was an article, but I choose Affinity Designer. Then guess what? When I do a search or a filter, so if I add a filter and say where the, yes, I know you're backing up, bless you, off you go. And I say in here where the tags contain Affinity Designer, boom. And it's all coming from the same database. That's why I build it in one database. It doesn't matter what the format is, because otherwise you get to a point where it's like, okay, this is a YouTube video. I'm putting it in the YouTube LMS. What do I do with this one from Vimeo then? Is that a separate one? Or do I need to make sure that the YouTube LMS includes video from other sources? Well, why bother? Why not just have one and be done? And anything you clip from anywhere goes into the same place, and you work with it from there with a collection of dashboards, with a collection of management options, and you can build anything you want. Anything you want. So we've got as far as we've got the top level table. There it is. I'll take the filter off it. We do not need the filter. Remove that. I'm going to do this like Sunday or Monday before Notion has another hissy fit with me. But I will put in here, I will show you what I've got in my system with some real stuff that I've done. And then hopefully that will even make more sense. The next thing we need to do, this database we're looking at might look very pretty with our gallery. But do remember here, this is the underlying table. So really, don't touch it, leave it be. It doesn't matter what this database looks like. You will hardly ever be using it. You will have a collection of dashboards to work with that will show you just what you want. So we could even have on the dashboard like 3 disclosure triangles, one for designer, one for photo, one for publisher. When you open it up, you get a lovely gallery like that, or a list view, whatever you want, and it will show you the, stuff that, things I need to read next and stuff like that. So all we've done at the moment, we've taken it a little bit further on the below the fold stuff, but what we've done is we've got the core of the system ready. It doesn't need anything else, nothing at all. What in terms of, I could work it from this if need be. But the next step is making it pretty so we have a dashboard, a little bit like we had a wiki dashboard over here, where we had an inbox, all the new stuff. So if you've added something in the last 2 weeks, why not have it showing in the dashboard, in the inbox? If you want to see the upcoming reminders you've got and the reviews that you've got, you could see those too. So this is the kind of thing that we'll be building, but not for a wiki. This time it's for an LMS. But that is the plan. Is young Jonathan still with us?
No.
I've got your spreadsheet, Sarah. It's just bobbed in. Excellent. I will have a look at that.
Doubt it very much.
No, I don't think so, but I'm whispering just in case. Don't want to disturb him. Right, okay. If you've got any questions, put them in now. If you've got any suggestions, if there's something you would like it to work with, the LMS, let me know. Other than that, we will catch up with part 2 next week. So, let's head off in here. Where are we after? We still have... Why is that mouse moving? So, next week is going to be part 2. But we also still have coming up. So for you to think about, we were going to build a note system as well. We've got the equipment tracker. We have the subscription tracker, which is terrifying me. Oh, I just said to Mike, I want to put something else on subscription. But do you know what? At least DEVONthink wasn't a subscription, so not too bad then. So coming up, hopefully next week, we've got the Affinity Photo 1.9 update. Yay! Part 3 of the Affinity updates. But next week is photo. We will also be doing the LMS part 2. So that is coming up as well. And that will be with you on the 19th of February. How is it the 19th of February? The 19th of February last year, we were heading off to Alveston. And you guys watched a YouTube premiere of me discussing, I do believe it was Scrivener. But I could be wrong on that. Mike needs to check. I could be wrong. In the meanwhile, all of this is available on demand, so don't miss it. You can go to youtube.com/ElaineGiles. They are all there. If you are looking for the After Hours, there is a playlist, an After Hours playlist. And you can find that at macbites.co.uk/After Hours playlist. The newest is always at the top. For reasons best known to itself, it's taken one on itself and it's not adding the videos. So now I have to do it by hand. It was working perfectly, but then so was Notion. So there you go. But that playlist is there. Also, we are going live every day while we are still marooned at MacBites headquarters. There is a feed for that. I need to fix one thing on it, apparently. And you can find us every day on MacBites FM. As I always say, we love you guys, and it is Valentine's weekend, isn't it? So if you love us, could you give us a like? Really makes a difference with YouTube. They were very pleased with me this week, because I think there was like 30% more likes on it than usual. So very happy with me. Right, if you want more of what we do, you need to go to elainegiles.com/VIP, and that is where you will sign up for my mailing list. We also have the MacBites mailing list, which is macbites.co.uk/macbites-mail. So last weekend, I sent out to my VIP list all the timestamps for the stuff we did in Publisher. That was when the views skyrocketed, because people could actually click directly to it. So that's what I'll do tomorrow. That's why, if you're wondering, after each bit, I come out and I put a slide up, because that's how we go through the video and get the timings. That's why we do that. It's all logical. Right, we are also in Slack, carrying on the conversation. So do join us, macbites.co.uk/Slack. We do have a ball in there, don't we? Slack does have its moments, and other people are looking at other alternatives, which maybe we may move, who knows? But at the moment, it's not broken, so leave it alone. And you can catch us at all those places. Probably the email's the best now, because I'm thinking about Twitter, and Twitter's a bit toxic, so I keep ignoring Twitter, and I'm not much better with Facebook, am I? I was actually thinking Facebook's outlived its welcome on my home screen of the phone. I got an app, didn't I? I can't remember what it was, and I said I want this on the home screen. And Mike looked at it and he said we could always dump Facebook. And then I thought, oh, this app looks good, and I got another app, and then I thought, Twitter might have to go as well. Oh, dear me. Okay. Waiting for the word from Kim before it actually happens.
Kim's already given the word.
Oh, is the word being given?
Elaine for the win.
Oh, excellent.
There you go. No VAR needed.
Right. There we go.
Clear cut.
Oh, bless him. He's had a tough week, hasn't he?
So have we.
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
Look how many hours we've done.
We managed to stay up till 12:30.
And that was only 4 days. That was only 4 days worth.
Madam, however, is fast asleep.
Oh, bless, she is. And she's been upside down quite a bit. Do you know, 1st of January, Jonathan was winning 2-0. Look at it.
We could have a three-way.
Pardon? Three-way what?
Contest.
Between?
You, Johnny and Lola.
Oh, Lola needs to sleep, she does. She looks after us in the night. She's alert in the night. There you go. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Looks like everybody did. Excellent. We will be back with you next week, won't we, Mike?
We will.
We will. Same time, same place, next week. I hope you all enjoyed it. I will say goodnight from me.
I'll say goodnight from me.
And we will both
see you next time.
Stay safe, guys.